Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobook. Dragon Ball Dark Dimension at the beginning. Chapter 41. Cheng Yu and Piccolo stood in the extremely wide space of the Spirit Time House. Their eyes met, and in an instant, it seemed as if countless sparks burst in the air. Without any extra words, the sparring began directly. Cheng Yu kicked his feet hard, and his figure rushed towards Piccolo like lightning. His arm muscles were tense, and his fists were swung out with lightning speed. This punch seemed simple and direct, but in fact it contained a clever force-generating technique. The power surged from the soles of the feet, passed through the legs and waist, and finally gathered at the tip of the fist. Piccolo reacted quickly, and he slightly turned his body to try to avoid this fierce blow. However, Cheng Yu's speed was beyond imagination, and his fist still brushed Piccolo's shoulder, and the powerful impact force made Piccolo's body lose balance. Piccolo, who was knocked flying, quickly adjusted his body in the air. The moment his feet landed, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, but more of excitement. At this time, Cheng Yu's aura surged, and the golden flames rose like a raging fire. He successfully transformed into a Super Saiyan. The powerful energy fluctuations made the entire Spirit Time House tremble slightly, and the surrounding air seemed to be distorted by this power. Rushing towards Piccolo again, Cheng Yu's attack was more swift and violent. Every punch he threw was accompanied by a whistling sound of wind, and the speed was so fast that it was dazzling. Piccolo was a little flustered at first. He kept retreating, turning sideways, and jumping, trying to avoid Cheng Yu's dense rain-like attacks. But Cheng Yu's attack angle was extremely tricky, sometimes hitting directly from above, and sometimes sweeping from the side, making Piccolo defenseless. In order to allow Piccolo to quickly enhance his combat effectiveness, Cheng Yu decided to exert further pressure. He raised his aura again and transformed directly into a more powerful state. At this time, his strength seemed to have been raised to another level, and every attack was with the momentum of destroying the world. A strong sense of oppression came over him, and Piccolo felt difficulty breathing. Every time he resisted, his arms went numb. But he gritted his teeth and persisted, trying to find a way to deal with Cheng Yu's violent attack. Piccolo began to concentrate and observe Cheng Yu's attack rhythm and flaws. He found that although Cheng Yu's attack was powerful, there would be a short power interval after continuous and rapid attacks. So Piccolo seized this opportunity. At the moment when Cheng Yu's fist was about to hit him, he slid sideways, avoided the attack, and quickly counterattacked with his palm. Cheng Yu seemed to have expected it. He slightly sideways, blocked Piccolo's counterattack with his arm, and then attacked Piccolo again with an elbow. Cheng Yu controlled his attack rhythm, sometimes speeding up, sometimes slowing down, so that Piccolo could adapt little by little in the battle. Piccolo did not disappoint. In this fierce battle, he gradually realized some new fighting skills. He learned how to use the flexibility of his body to avoid attacks and how to counterattack at the moment of defense. His defense became more and more stable, and his counterattack became more and more methodical. The battle between the two became more and more intense, and the energy in the Spirit Time Room was overflowing and the light was flashing. Every collision caused a huge energy fluctuation, and Piccolo continued to break through himself in this high-intensity battle, and his strength was significantly improved. In the fierce battle with Piccolo, Cheng Yu keenly noticed the great potential shown by Piccolo. He knew that only by giving enough pressure could this potential be fully stimulated. So, in the process of fighting, Cheng Yu began to improve his breath little by little. With each attack, the power he released was stronger than the last time, ensuring that Piccolo could be under heavy pressure at all times. Piccolo did not retreat at all under this continuously increasing sense of oppression, but resisted more and more tenaciously. Piccolo, who has merged with the old god, is now a complete body. Whether it is potential or physical strength, it is not inferior to the Saiyans. However, the Namekians do not have the ability to suddenly multiply their combat effectiveness through transformation like the Saiyans. They have always maintained their basic form and basic combat effectiveness. But Piccolo relied on his own strong talent and tenacious will, and tried to adapt to the pressure of Cheng Yu's constantly increasing aura. Every defense and counterattack was tapping his potential. His movements became more agile, his reactions became faster, and his use of strength became more exquisite. Cheng Yu watched Piccolo constantly break through himself under pressure, and secretly admired him in his heart. He knew that such a battle would be invaluable to Piccolo's growth. And Piccolo also became stronger and stronger unknowingly in this seemingly difficult battle. In the fierce battle, Cheng Yu's thoughts turned rapidly. He suddenly had an idea that Saiyans could stimulate their own wildness and thus have the original wild form of Super Saiyan 4. Since Namekians also have his unique bloodline should be able to transform in some way. Cheng Yu clearly remembered that in the original plot, Piccolo had obtained a powerful transformation of Orange Piccolo through Shenlong, and the strength of that form was comparable to the blue form of Super Saiyan God. At this moment, while he was fighting fiercely with Piccolo, he was thinking in his heart whether Piccolo could trigger this amazing transformation in advance. Cheng Yu's attack slowed down slightly, and his eyes were fixed on Piccolo, as if he wanted to find a trace of possible transformation from him. Piccolo was concentrating on dealing with Cheng Yu's offensive, and had no idea of Cheng Yu's thoughts. But under Cheng Yu's expectant and inquiring eyes, Piccolo felt that this battle was more and more full of unknowns and mysteries. Just when Cheng Yu was stunned for a moment because of thinking about whether Piccolo could trigger the transformation in advance, the sharp Piccolo instantly captured this fleeting opportunity. A flash of determination flashed in his eyes, and the muscles of his whole body instantly tightened, and the power in his body was quickly concentrated on his fists like a surging tide. He kicked his feet hard, and rushed forward like an arrow from a bow, with an unstoppable momentum, and punched out fiercely. This powerful punch carried all of Piccolo's strength and hit Cheng Yu solidly. The powerful impact was like a cannonball exploding, instantly generating a violent energy wave. Cheng Yu's body was like a fallen leaf swept by a strong wind, and instantly flew backwards, drawing a long arc in the air. However, although this powerful punch caused Cheng Yu to suffer a heavy blow, it did not cause him any actual damage. Cheng Yu quickly adjusted his body shape during the backward flight, and after his feet landed, he slid back a distance and stood steadily. There was no anger on his face, but instead revealed a hint of appreciation and admiration for Piccolo. Cheng Yu and Piccolo both stopped at the same time at this moment, and looked at each other quietly. Piccolo's body began to tremble uncontrollably due to the huge consumption of the previous blow. His legs seemed to lose strength, shaky, and finally unable to stand, he sat on the ground. He gasped heavily, and every breath seemed extremely heavy. Sweat kept sliding down his forehead and cheeks like rain, dripping on the ground, instantly forming a small water stain. But Piccolo's eyes still burned with the desire and determination to fight, without the slightest retreat or fear. He stared at Cheng Yu tightly, as if telling him that this was just a small episode in the battle, and he still had enough strength and courage to continue fighting. Cheng Yu stood in place, his eyes calm and deep. He looked at Piccolo sitting on the ground, and his heart was filled with emotion. He knew that Piccolo's strength was not only in his strength, but also in his never-give-up spirit and tenacious will. Cheng Yu nodded slightly, as if conveying a silent recognition and respect to Piccolo. At this time, the whole space seemed to be quiet, with only Piccolo's heavy breathing and the eyes of the two people interweaving and colliding in the air. In this fierce battle, they all felt each other's strength and perseverance, and they all worked hard and fought hard to become stronger. Cheng Yu slowly came to Piccolo, with a concerned look on his face, and took out a precious senzu bean from his arms and handed it to Piccolo. Piccolo took the senzu bean without hesitation and put it into his mouth and swallowed it. In an instant, the magical effect was shown, and the energy of Piccolo's body quickly recovered, and the damage suffered in the previous battle was also restored at a speed visible to the naked eye. Cheng Yu stood aside, frowning slightly, and fell into thinking about the question just now. After a moment, he could no longer suppress his curiosity and asked Piccolo directly, "Pico, can the Namekians multiply their combat effectiveness by transforming like the Saiyans, or stimulate the blood of the Namekians to gain more powerful power?" Piccolo was stunned when he heard this question. He grew up on Earth since he was a child and didn't know much about many things on Namek. But this question deeply touched him, and he began to seriously think about the feasibility of this plan. Piccolo's eyes became deep, and his mind kept recalling everything he knew about Namekians. He tried hard to search for clues that might be related to transformation and stimulating blood power, but his memory was blank. However, he did not give up thinking, but tried to analyze this possibility based on his own combat experience and understanding of power. Cheng Yu quietly waited for Piccolo's answer, his eyes full of expectation. Time seemed to stand still at this moment, only the thoughts of the two people were constantly churning. Piccolo pondered for a moment, then slowly spoke. Cheng Yu, to be honest, I grew up on Earth and I really know very little about these secrets of the Namekians. But from my current understanding, we Namekians don't seem to have the way to multiply our combat power through obvious transformations like the Saiyans. However, I don't think it's completely impossible to stimulate the power of blood. We Namekians have unique regenerative abilities and strong spiritual power. Perhaps under certain conditions or through special training, we can stimulate the more powerful power hidden in our blood. But all this is just my guess, and more exploration and attempts are needed. Pico's eyes revealed a hint of uncertainty, but also a desire to explore further. After listening to Piccolo's answer, Cheng Yu nodded thoughtfully, and then said, then let's imagine, if we can really find a way to stimulate the blood power of the Namekians, what kind of conditions or opportunities will be needed? For example, a specific environment, special energy stimulation, or some kind of spiritual breakthrough. Pico frowned, thought for a moment and responded, maybe it has something to do with the origin of our Namekians. Maybe we can find some clues when we return to our hometown. Or like the Saiyans who have greatly increased their strength after recovering from the brink of death, can we also stimulate potential through similar extreme methods? Cheng Yu continued, then the spiritual level, what about the other side? We all know that the spiritual power of Namekians is strong. Is it possible to stimulate the blood through spiritual practice? Quote. Pico's eyes lit up and said, this is a new idea. Perhaps we can learn from some ancient cultivation methods on Earth and see if we can combine them with our own characteristics. Cheng Yu also proposed, also, can we study the historical records of Namekians? Maybe our ancestors left relevant hints. The two of them kept talking and putting forward various ideas and possibilities, and had an in-depth and heated discussion on how to stimulate the blood power of Namekians. After discussing for a while, Cheng Yu and Piccolo both felt that the current ideas were not mature enough and needed more information and thinking. Cheng Yu suggested. Pico, I think it might be a way to summon Shenlong to ask after going out. Maybe I can get useful guidance. Piccolo nodded in agreement. Well, this is a good idea, but the most important thing at the moment is that I have to practice and become stronger as soon as possible. The two knew that in order to have enough strength to defeat Cell after going out, they could not relax for a moment. Cheng Yu looked at Piccolo firmly and said, then let's not delay, let's continue. As soon as the voice fell, the two men took up their positions again and engaged in a new round of fighting. Cheng Yu flashed and took the lead in attacking, with a whistling fist. Piccolo responded calmly, deftly diffusing Cheng Yu's offensive, while looking for opportunities to counterattack. In the spirit time room, energy fluctuations rose and fell, and the two were fully focused, treating every fight as a precious opportunity to improve themselves, and fighting hard for the common goal of defeating Cell. This time, Cheng Yu was determined to bring great pressure to Piccolo, so that Piccolo's cultivation would be greatly improved. The training will be faster, and the combat power will increase rapidly. Only with great pressure, Piccolo will make great progress in the battle without knowing it. He stood firmly on the ground with his feet. His posture was as straight as a pine tree, and his expression was serious and focused. He took a deep breath, as if to absorb all the energy around him into his body, and then slowly closed his eyes. Behind those tightly closed eyes, Cheng Yu's consciousness immersed in the deepest part of his body, concentrating on mobilizing the powerful force in his body that came from the Saiyan bloodline. At this moment, his body seemed to have become a huge energy vortex, and the surrounding air produced visible fluctuations due to this powerful suction. I saw his body began to emit dazzling light, and the light became stronger and stronger, wrapping him in it. The powerful energy fluctuations spread wildly around him, and wherever they went, the ground trembled slightly and dust flew. At the moment when the light reached its peak, Cheng Yu successfully transformed into Super Saiyan IV. However, even Cheng Yu himself did not notice the amazing change in this shocking transformation. Behind him, a huge golden gorilla shadow appeared. The shadow was tall and majestic, as if the overlord of ancient times had descended. Its body exuded a brilliant golden light, and every hair was clearly visible and lifelike. The powerful pressure was like a substance, making the surrounding space seem heavy. However, Cheng Yu had opened his eyes at this time, and his eyes were full of determination and desire to fight, tightly locked on Piccolo in front of him. All his attention was focused on the upcoming battle, and he had no idea of the mysterious and powerful shadow behind him. Cheng Yu began to try to gather the huge outward breath, his body trembled slightly, and fine beads of sweat oozed out of his forehead. Obviously, this was not an easy task. But with his tenacious will and precise control of strength, he gradually condensed the overflowing breath, making his strength more concentrated and restrained, so that he could play more freely in the battle. Then, he looked at Piccolo with a serious face, without any contempt or laziness in his eyes. He raised his hands and made the standard gesture of martial artists fighting, with his fingers slightly bent, palms facing inward, and his body slightly leaning forward, ready to meet Piccolo's attack at any time. Every move he made was full of power and rhythm, as if announcing to Piccolo that this would be an unprecedented fierce confrontation. Piccolo stood opposite and felt the powerful and restrained aura of Cheng Yu. He couldn't help but feel a little admiration in his heart, but more of a strong desire to fight. He also adjusted his state and prepared to meet Cheng Yu's challenge. Outside the Spirit Time room, the crowd waited for another 2 days. Time passed quietly in the tense atmosphere, and every minute and every second seemed particularly precious. The people outside also did not slack off at all, and they practiced non-stop. Krillin gritted his teeth and repeated his moves again and again, and his clothes were soaked with sweat. Tien Shinhan had a firm look and focused on honing his Qigong skills. Yamcha was constantly improving his physical fitness and reaction speed. They all had the same goal in their hearts, that is, to contribute their own strength when facing Cell and fight to protect the Earth. In the Spirit Time room, Cheng Yu and Piccolo also ushered in a critical moment after a long period of hard practice. Cheng Yu's eyes were bright and full of expectation, saying, "Come on, Piccolo, let me see your progress in the past 2 years." His voice was firm and powerful, echoing in this closed space. Piccolo smiled calmly, and that smile was full of confidence and calmness. He responded, "Come on, Cheng Yu, let me show you the power of our Namekians." Piccolo exuded a powerful aura, as if he was fully prepared to show his full strength in this final competition. The two stood opposite each other, and the air around them seemed to become heavy because of their aura. The ultimate duel that would determine the results of their training was about to begin. Cheng Yu looked at Piccolo's excited and eager appearance, and his fighting spirit instantly burned like a raging fire. He knew that facing Piccolo, who was so passionate and determined, this would be an unreserved and all-out competition. Only by showing his true strength could he show the greatest respect to each other. So, Cheng Yu took a deep breath, and his chest bulged high, as if he wanted to take all the energy in this spiritual time house into his body. Then, he raised his head suddenly and let out a deafening roar. This roar seemed to be able to penetrate the barriers of time and space and reach the depths of the universe. In this roar, Cheng Yu's aura surged wildly like the surging waves of the sea. Powerful and pure energy burst out from every cell of his body, interweaving and merging with each other, forming a vortex of power that almost swallowed up the entire space. He successfully raised his own aura to the extreme, completed the transformation, and became a Super Saiyan full power. At this moment, Cheng Yu was surrounded by golden flames, which were hot and dazzling, like a burning golden sun. His hair stood up, flashing with brilliant golden light, and each strand contained endless power. His eyes became extremely sharp, like 2 lightning bolts that could penetrate everything, filled with a firm desire to fight in a persistent pursuit of victory. The ground under Cheng Yu's feet was overwhelmed by this suffocatingly powerful force, and it sank slightly, forming circles of spider web-like cracks. The surrounding air was also distorted by this force, and the light reflected strange colors in it, as if the entire space was in a state of chaos. Then, Cheng Yu did not hesitate at all, and his figure disappeared instantly like a ghost. The next moment, he rushed towards Piccolo at an unimaginable speed like a golden lightning. His fists were clenched, and the muscles on his arms were as tight as steel. With the sound of whistling wind, he smashed towards Piccolo fiercely. Wherever the fist passed, the space seemed to be torn apart, leaving a short black mark. Piccolo faced Cheng Yu's extremely sharp attack, and there was no fear in his eyes. His eyes were calm and calm. At that moment, he reacted quickly, crossed his arms in front of his chest, and gathered all his strength on his arms, ready to take Cheng Yu's powerful attack. When Cheng Yu's fist collided with Piccolo's crossed arms, time seemed to stop at this moment. Then, a huge energy shock wave broke out in all directions with the two as the center. Wherever this shock wave went, the rocks on the wall broke apart, turning into countless pieces of rubble that flew everywhere. The entire Spirit Time house was shaken by this powerful force, and it emitted a series of dull echoes. However, the two did not retreat at all because of this first collision. Their battle has just begun, and a thrilling battle is about to take place in this small space. Because Cheng Yu's fighting power is indeed stronger than Piccolo's. In this fierce and wonderful battle, although Piccolo tried his best, used all his skills, and showed amazing fighting skills and tenacity, Cheng Yu was still superior in the end and successfully defeated Piccolo. However, although Piccolo was defeated, although he was in a battle, he did not feel sad or depressed. Instead, he lay quietly on the ground with a relieved smile on his face. Because through this hardy battle, he clearly felt that he had become very powerful now. Cheng Yu, who fought with him, did not let him go from beginning to end, but really showed all his strength and had an unreserved duel with him. In this process, Piccolo deeply understood the limit of his power. But even so, he was extremely happy, because the power he had now was a world apart from his former self. In the past, he might feel powerless when facing a powerful enemy, and he would feel fear and uneasiness. But now, after this long and arduous practice, he has been reborn and has the strength to compete with the strong. Piccolo knows that this failure is not the end, but a new starting point. He will use this battle as experience, continue to work hard to practice, constantly break through his limits, and move towards a higher realm. And Cheng Yu will also become an important benchmark and source of motivation on his way forward. After a rest and recovery, Piccolo and Cheng Yu walked out of the mysterious Spirit Time house side by side. When they stepped out of the door, the fresh air hit them, and they couldn't help but take a deep breath, with a look of emotion on their faces. They looked up at the blue sky, felt the breeze, and a strong sense of mission surged in their hearts. Piccolo whispered, "We must protect this planet, because it is our home." Cheng Yu nodded heavily, his eyes firm and persistent. "That's right, no matter what the price, it can't be harmed." Then, they walked towards the people who had been waiting anxiously outside. Piccolo and Cheng Yu greeted everyone with a smile, and then rested quietly on the side. Although there was a trace of fatigue in their eyes, they were more looking forward to and determined to the final battle with Cell in a few days. On the other side, Krillin and Tien Shinhan walked into the Spirit Time house without any hesitation. They know that time is short and the task is arduous. They must race against time to improve their strength and contribute more to protecting the Earth. In this seemingly calm moment, everyone's heart is burning with a blazing fire. For the common goal and the peace of their homeland, they are ready to meet the upcoming huge challenges. Another 2 days passed quietly, and the time notified by Cell finally came. Everyone was on high alert in the Temple of Heaven, and they were all in high spirits and ready to go. There was a determined flame burning in their eyes, and they had the same goal in mind, to destroy Cell, the ultimate biological weapon created by Dr. Gero. At this time, the atmosphere in the Temple of Heaven was solemn and solemn. Cheng Yu clenched his fists, his eyes were like torches, and he exuded a strong momentum, as if he was ready to fight Cell to the death at any time. Piccolo had a serious expression, and his green skin looked particularly firm in the sun. He secretly vowed to make Cell pay for his evil deeds. Krillin and Tien Shinhan had just come out of the Spirit Time room. Although they were a little tired, their eyes were full of fighting spirit. Yamcha, Jiaozi and others also looked determined. They knew that this battle was about the survival of the Earth, and there must be no retreat. Everyone understood that this time they had to go to the martial arts meeting held by Cell, where they would have the final battle with Cell and completely eliminate this threat. They had no way out, they could only move forward bravely and use their own strength and courage to protect the home they loved. At this tense moment, no one spoke, only the sound of the breeze blowing through the corners of their clothes. But from their firm expressions and upright postures, it can be seen that they are ready for this fierce battle. No matter how many difficulties and obstacles there are ahead, they will not be afraid and move forward bravely. In the past few days, those who did not enter the Spirit Time house or had come out of the Spirit Time house were training in their own way, making final preparations for the upcoming decisive battle with Cell. Sun Wukong took Sun Wuhan, maintained the full power of Super Saiyan 1, and sat by the lake leisurely fishing. To outsiders, this seems a little incredible, but Sun Wukong knows that this is to hone his state of mind. By the calm lake, the father and son stared at the water intently, but their hearts were constantly practicing and settling. Vegeta, perhaps because of his experience of losing to Cell, or perhaps because he was deeply hit by the powerful force released by Cheng Yu. In the past few days, he has been staying in the gravity room made by Bulma for him, sweating profusely and conducting high-intensity training. Every punch and every kick carries his inner unwillingness and desire for powerful strength. Trunks has also been with Vegeta, bearing the oppression of gravity with his father, constantly breaking through his own limits. Piccolo, Cheng Yu, Tien Shinhan, and Jiaozi have been honing themselves in the Temple of the Gods. Piccolo closed his eyes and quietly felt the surrounding atmosphere, trying to improve his perception ability. Cheng Yu constantly practiced various moves, striving to respond more quickly and accurately in battle. Tien Shinhan and Jiaozi also did not slack off, they learned from each other and made progress together. Everyone is working hard in their own way. In order to protect the Earth and defeat Cell, they are giving their sweat and efforts without reservation. When they arrived, everyone's eyes were on a venue that was very similar to the world's No.1 martial arts tournament. However, the difference is that this time it was in the open field, and there were no enthusiastic cheering spectators around, only silence. The first people to challenge Cell were a few Earthlings. They might have been full of passion and courage, wanting to contribute to the protection of the Earth. But Cell felt bored when facing them. He frowned, with a hint of contempt in his eyes, and casually sent out a Qigong wave. The powerful energy wave swept over in an instant, and the Earthlings were immediately frightened pale and fled in panic. Even Mr. Satan, who always claimed to be the strongest martial artist on Earth, was hiding aside and dared not come out. He also spoke to the photographer next to him in a flattering manner, saying that it was to save energy and finally appear to eliminate Cell. But anyone with a discerning eye could see that he was just intimidated by Cell's strength and didn't dare to step forward easily. At this time, the atmosphere on the field became increasingly tense, and everyone was waiting for the real strong man to take action and start a thrilling life and death contest with Cell. Vegeta was as proud as ever, but this time he didn't say as much as usual. Instead, he immediately became full of energy and instantly transformed into a Super Saiyan at full power. His whole body was burning with golden flames, and his eyes were full of determination. It was obvious that he was ready to go all out to fight Cell, perhaps to avenge his previous shame and revenge. This time he was unreserved at the beginning, raising his aura to the extreme, showing an amazing momentum. Seeing this, Cell didn't waste any words, and his figure flashed, and he rushed towards Vegeta. The two were in the air. In the instant, they started fighting, with fists whistling and energy overflowing. However, due to the difference in combat power, Vegeta gradually fell into a disadvantage. Cell saw the opportunity and blasted out a powerful energy wave. Vegeta was unable to dodge and was knocked to the ground heavily. Blood flowed from the corners of his mouth, his face was full of unwillingness and anger, and his eyes were burning with unyielding flames. Trunks rushed forward at the first time, carefully helped Vegeta back to the side, quickly took out a Senzu bean from his arms and fed it to him. After Vegeta took the Senzu bean, his injuries recovered quickly, but the unwillingness in his heart was difficult to calm down. Despite this, Vegeta still suppressed his emotions and said to Sun Wukong, "You must defeat this trash, otherwise I will never forgive you." There was eagerness and expectation in his voice, as if all his hopes were placed on Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong flashed and flew to the ring. His eyes were like lightning, his muscles were tense, and he began to concentrate on breathing. A powerful breath surged out of his body, and the golden flames burned fiercely, as if to ignite the surrounding air. Without the slightest hesitation, Sun Wukong showed all his strength, rushed up like a flash of lightning, and instantly started a fierce battle with Cell. Each of his punches contained the power to destroy the world, and each of his kicks was accompanied by a sharp gust of wind. For a moment, the ring was shining, the energy fluctuated violently, and the figures of the two people intertwined, making it dizzying. Sun Wukong was fully focused, exerting his fighting skills and strength to the extreme, vowing to compete with Cell. Cell defeated Sun Wukong with absolute advantage. Sun Wukong stood up from the ground with difficulty and slowly lifted the transformation. At this moment, Sun Wukong made a move that surprised everyone. He looked calm and took the initiative to jump off the ring. And this act of falling out of the ring meant that he had lost the competition. Cell stood on the ring and said with contempt, "Son Goku, is this your strength? You still want to defeat me? It would be wise for you to admit defeat." But Son Goku said to Cell calmly, "Although I lost, I know someone who can defeat you, and he will definitely defeat you." Hearing this, Cell couldn't help but wonder. He glanced at the protagonists on the sidelines, and then said disdainfully, "You still want to defeat me like this?" Son Goku slowly walked to the sidelines and said to Son Gohan with a firm look, "Gohan, I believe you, you can definitely beat him, you must believe in your potential." Quote. Not only Vegeta and Piccolo beside them were full of doubts, even Son Gohan himself couldn't help but fall into deep thought, saying to himself, "Can I really beat him?" Son Goku stood up again at this time and encouraged, "Come on, Gohan, believe that you can do it, your potential is very huge. Come on, go." Son Gohan's eyes gradually became firm when he heard his father's encouragement. He took a deep breath, took a firm step to the ring, and stood face to face with Cell. At this moment, Son Gohan seemed to radiate an invisible power, and he was ready to meet this difficult challenge. In this Cell game, there are many reasons why Son Gohan believed that Son Gohan could beat Cell. First of all, Son Goku knew that Son Gohan had great potential. Although Gohan was usually gentle and not very keen on fighting, he could always burst out amazing power at critical moments. Secondly, in his fight with Cell, Goku keenly realized that Cell's strength was not insurmountable, and once Gohan's potential was stimulated, he could definitely defeat Cell. Furthermore, Goku knew Gohan's growth and training process very well. He knew that Gohan had accumulated enough strength and skills in his hard training, and he just needed an opportunity to fully release them. Finally, as a father, Goku had a deep trust and understanding of Gohan. He believed that Gohan's courage and determination could support him in defeating powerful enemies in battle. Son Gohan stood on the ring, staring at the powerful Cell in front of him. He took a deep breath, as if to expel all the tension and anxiety from his body. Then, he no longer hesitated, and his whole body burst out with an extremely powerful aura, instantly turning into a Super Saiyan at full power. The golden flames burned around him, and Son Gohan's eyes became extremely firm and sharp. He shouted loudly, exerted force on his feet, rushed forward like a cannonball, and did not hesitate to start a fierce battle with Cell. His fists were accompanied by a whirring sound of wind, and every attack contained his inner anger and determination. Cell was not to be outdone, and faced Son Gohan's attack. For a while, the ring was full of light and the roar of energy collision was endless. The battle between Son Goku and Cell was thrilling. At the beginning of the battle, Son Gohan instantly aerated, transformed into a Super Saiyan, rushed towards Cell at a very fast speed, took the initiative, and threw a powerful punch. Cell dodged easily by leaning sideways, and at the same time responded with a swift kick, but Gohan swiftly jumped back to avoid it. Then, Gohan launched a series of punches and energy wave attacks, while Cell flexibly dodged left and right, and was able to find the right time to counterattack. The two figures quickly crossed each other on the ring, and the speed was dazzling. As the battle progressed, Gohan continued to increase his strength, his aura became stronger, and the golden flame of the Super Saiyan burned more vigorously. Each of his attacks carried the power of destroying the world, but Cell could always cleverly resolve it. In a fierce collision, Gohan and Cell each used their full energy waves, and the two rays of light collided, producing a huge explosion impact, and the entire ring trembled. However, despite Gohan's all-out efforts, Cell seemed to be stronger and gradually gained the upper hand. But Gohan never gave up, and still fought tenaciously with Cell until he was finally defeated due to physical exhaustion. Cell looked at Son Gohan lying on the ground with a disdainful smile on his face, which was full of contempt and ridicule. Then, without mercy, he suddenly sent a Qigong wave to the crowd on the sidelines. The protagonists reacted quickly and immediately used their skills to dodge. But those ordinary people who had no fighting ability suffered. Some were directly knocked away by this powerful force and fell far away like a kite with a broken line, others even died on the spot, and the scene was horrible. However, Cell had no intention of stopping. He flashed and attacked the protagonists at a very fast speed. His speed was as fast as a ghost, with a fierce killing intention, which instantly put the protagonists in an extremely dangerous situation. Cell was like a ferocious beast, launching a fierce attack on the protagonists with an unstoppable momentum. He first locked his target on Piccolo. Cell flashed and appeared in front of Piccolo in an instant. Before Piccolo could react, he punched him hard. Piccolo was hit by this powerful force and flew out like a cannonball. He fell heavily to the ground and could not get up for a while. Then, Cell turned to Tien Shinhan. He saw that he condensed a powerful energy wave with his hands and fired it at Tien Shinhan without hesitation. Tien Shinhan tried his best to resist, but the energy wave was too strong. He was finally swallowed by this force and fell to the ground. Then, Cell cast his eyes on Vegeta. Vegeta roared and rushed forward, and launched a fierce attack with Cell. However, after a few rounds, Cell saw Vegeta's flaw and kicked him away. Vegeta rolled on the ground for several rounds before he could barely stabilize his body. Cell did not give them a chance to breathe and quickly rushed to Krillin. Krillin tried to dodge with his flexible body movements, but Cell was faster, grabbed Krillin and threw him to the ground, and Clinton lost his ability to fight. In this way, Cell defeated the protagonists one by one with his powerful strength and cruel means, and the whole scene fell into despair and chaos. Trunks was quickly pulled away by Cheng Yu at the moment when Cell fired the energy bomb, and the two of them flashed to a far place. After they stood still, their eyes were fixed on the direction of the ring, watching the tragic situation of the crowd. Their faces were full of solemnity and tension, but neither of them acted rashly. Son Gohan looked at the people lying on the ground. His eyes almost spewed fire, and the anger in his heart was about to erupt like a volcano. Although Son Goku had been knocked to the ground and was covered with scars at this time, he still looked at Son Gohan with a firm look, encouraging him and said, "Believe in your own potential, Gohan, I believe you can definitely defeat Cell, come on." As soon as the voice fell, Son Goku was killed by Shalu before he could react more. Lu kicked him mercilessly, his body drew an arc in the air, and fell heavily to a farther place. Son Gohan staggered to his feet at this time, his eyes burning with rage, clenched his fists, gritted his teeth and said, "Cell, I must destroy you." After that, Son Gohan roared. Ah! This roar seemed to break through the clouds, and a huge breath gushed out from Son Gohan, like a surging wave, one wave after another, and the powerful force made the surrounding air tremble. Son Gohan was extremely angry at this time, looking at the tragic appearance of the people around him, and his father Son Goku's words kept echoing in his mind. All of this, like a burning fire, completely ignited the power deep in his heart. Son Gohan stood on the messy ring, surrounded by the fallen figures of his companions, and his eyes burned with endless anger and determination. Cell's contemptuous smile and wanton attack made Son Gohan's anger grow stronger and stronger. He clenched his teeth and his body trembled slightly. Suddenly, Son Gohan raised his head and roared, and his voice resounded through the sky. At the same time, a strong breath that was so strong that it was suffocating burst out from his body, and the golden light instantly enveloped him. His hair became more upright and sharp, the golden light became more dazzling, and the electric energy flowed around his body. Son Gohan's eyes became cold and sharp, and the form of Super Saiyan 2 was revealed. Son Goku woke up slowly at this time, and when he saw Son Gohan who had transformed into Super Saiyan 2 on the ring, he also smiled with relief. That smile was full of pride in his son's growth and expectations for the future. However, seeing that Son Gohan was still not making a move, Son Goku was anxious and reminded Son Gohan loudly, "Gohan, defeat Cell quickly, hurry up." Although his voice was weak, it was full of urgency and encouragement, hoping that Son Gohan could seize the opportunity and defeat Cell in one fell swoop. Son Gohan listened to Son Goku's urgent reminder and came back to his senses as if waking up from a dream. He took a deep breath, tried to calm the surging emotions in his heart, and his eyes became firm and sharp again. Then, Son Gohan no longer hesitated, kicked his feet hard, rushed up like an arrow from a string, and officially started a fierce battle with Cell. His speed was as fast as lightning, with an indomitable momentum, and every move and every style contained powerful power, as if he wanted to pour all his anger and desire for victory into this battle. The battle between Son Gohan and Cell instantly entered a white-hot stage. Son Gohan was like a brave lion, waving his powerful fist and smashing towards Cell fiercely. Cell dodged sideways and fired back a fierce kick, but Gohan quickly bent over to avoid it. Gohan then launched a series of swift attacks, with whistling fists, each of which carried the powerful power of Super Saiyan 2. Cell was not to be outdone, crossing his hands to block, and then sending out a powerful energy wave to counterattack. The two of them fought back and forth, neither giving in. Gohan's eyes were full of determination and resoluteness, and he tried his best to defeat Cell as soon as possible with every attack. Cell, relying on his own strength and combat experience, stubbornly resisted Gohan's fierce attack. The entire battlefield was shining, and the collision of energy caused bursts of roars, and the surrounding air seemed to be distorted by this fierce battle. Son Gohan's whole body burst into brilliant golden light, and the power of Super Saiyan 2 surged in his body. He stared at Cell with a sharp gaze, and his figure flashed and appeared in front of Cell in an instant. Son Gohan raised his fist, and with the sound of whistling wind, he smashed at Cell with the force of thunder. Cell tried to resist, but Son Gohan's power was too strong, and this punch directly knocked Cell back again and again. Son Gohan did not give Cell a chance to breathe, and then there was a series of violent attacks. His leg skills were sharp, and each kick contained the energy of destroying the world, and Cell was kicked to the ground. Cell wanted to fight back, but Son Gohan's speed and strength completely suppressed him. Son Gohan rushed over again and hit Cell high with an uppercut. When Cell fell heavily to the ground, he had no power to fight back and was completely knocked to the ground by Son Gohan. Son Gohan was probably deeply affected by the surging and uncontrollable emotions of his first transformation into Super Saiyan 2. His face, which was originally full of anger, was surprisingly calm at this moment. He walked towards Cell step by step with steady steps, with complex emotions in his eyes, including the confidence to defeat a strong enemy and the confusion of gaining such a powerful force for the first time. At this critical moment, Son Goku and Piccolo stood up at the same time in a panic. Son Goku's body, which was scarred by the battle, was now full of tension and anxiety. He shouted with all his strength, "Quickly destroy Cell, Gohan!" His voice was full of expectations for his son and concerns about the safety of the Earth. Piccolo also shouted, "Gohan, don't hesitate, hurry up." His green face flushed with excitement, and the veins on his forehead bulged. However, Son Gohan seemed to be mentally affected by the huge impact of the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. He fell into a trance and did not respond to their urgent calls. He just stared at Cell blankly, as if he was thinking about something, and seemed to be bound by some inexplicable emotions. At this time, Cell took advantage of Son Gohan's distraction and struggled to stand up from the ground. His body was trembling, and his eyes revealed despair and madness. Facing Son Gohan, he hysterically shouted, "Since I can't defeat you, let this planet be buried with me." As soon as the voice fell, he started the self-destruction program without hesitation. In an instant, Cell's body began to change drastically. Like a balloon being blown up, it expanded rapidly into a huge sphere. The surface of his body flashed with a chilling light, which was a sign of the terrifying energy that was about to explode. As Cell's body expanded, the surrounding space was distorted, and the strong pressure made the air heavy. The constantly accumulating energy was like a giant beast about to break free from the cage, ready to devour and destroy everything at any time. The whole world seemed to be in a panic of doomsday, and everyone's eyes were focused on Cell's body that was about to explode, and their hearts were filled with despair and fear. Son Gohan finally came back to his senses from his trance at this time. When he saw Cell who was about to explode in front of him, he was at a loss for a moment, and his eyes were full of panic and helplessness. Son Goku stood up at this time, and he subconsciously looked at the people around him. His eyes swept over his father Son Goku, Piccolo, Krillin, Vegeta and others one by one. Then, Son Goku moved to Cell's side in an instant. Son Goku looked at Son Gohan in front of him and said with difficulty, "Gohan, you are great." Then, Son Goku turned his head to look at Piccolo, Krillin, Vegeta and others on the other side, with reluctance in his eyes, and said loudly, "Goodbye everyone." Cell may have sensed Son Goku's intention, and shouted in horror, "Don't touch me, if you release me, I will explode." His voice was full of fear and despair. Sun Wukong looked at everyone calmly and nodded slightly, as if he was saying his final goodbye. There was no fear in his eyes, only deep attachment to everyone and firm trust in Sun Wuhan. At this time, Cheng Yu, who had been watching the battle for a long time, suddenly moved to the side of Sun Wukong. He looked firm, nodded to everyone, and then said, "How could I let you sacrifice? Everyone remember me, this time I really see you again." After that, Cheng Yu moved quickly, decisively cancelled Cell's self-destruction program with one hand, and then instantly moved into the universe. In an instant, Cell exploded with a loud bang, and the power was extremely amazing. The breath of this explosion was so powerful that the planet just now exploded in an instant and turned into dust all over the sky. Although Cheng Yu had transformed into a Super Saiyan 4 in the process just now, his physical strength had reached an extremely powerful. However, the power of the explosion was so terrifying that he was blown to another planet by the powerful impact. After landing, Cheng Yu returned to normal. Due to the serious impact of the explosion, he fell into a coma and lay motionless on the strange land. Everyone stared blankly at the direction where Cell and Cheng Yu disappeared, their eyes full of astonishment, and they didn't react for a while. The thrilling scene just happened too fast, so fast that their minds couldn't keep up with the rhythm. When they finally came to their senses and wanted to find Cheng Yu's figure, they found that he had disappeared, and even a trace of breath could not be felt. They looked at each other, full of worry and doubts. Sun Wukong frowned, trying to sense the energy fluctuations around him, but found nothing. Piccolo clenched his fists, his eyes revealed anxiety. Krillin and Vegeta also looked solemn, not knowing what Cheng Yu had encountered. This space, which was originally full of tension and fierce fighting, fell into silence at this moment. Only the dust left by the destroyed planet was still floating slowly, as if telling the thrilling battle just now. Everyone looked at the place where Cheng Yu disappeared, their eyes were dull and they could not speak for a long time. Even Trunks, who was running from a distance, stood there when he saw this scene, his mouth slightly open, and he wanted to speak, but it seemed that something was stuck in his throat, and he couldn't spit out a word. Vegeta clenched his fists tightly at this time, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He said angrily and unwillingly, "Why do you want to be a hero at this time?" His voice seemed particularly abrupt in the silence, but it was full of complex emotions. Sun Wukong was silent, with deep worry and admiration in his eyes. Piccolo lowered his head, and his green face was full of solemnity. Krillin bit his lip, his eyes were red, and his heart was full of worry about Cheng Yu's safety. Trunks looked at the void and murmured to himself, "He will be fine, he will be." Time seemed to freeze at this moment, and everyone felt like they were being pressed down by a heavy boulder, unable to let go. Cheng Yu fell into a coma, lying quietly on a desolate planet, with his pale face set off by the lifeless land. In a coma, his thoughts drifted back to his previous life. It was an endless 996 hard life, leaving home early and returning late every day, and being overwhelmed by work. He remembered his parents who always told him to take care of his health on the phone, and the look of relief and distress on his parents' faces every time he went home. Suddenly, Cheng Yu woke up suddenly. He was breathing heavily, and his eyes still had the fear and longing in his dreams. Looking at the strange and desolate environment around him, he was a little confused for a while. During the thrilling explosion, Cheng Yu resolutely transformed into Super Saiyan 4. This powerful transformation made his physical strength reach an amazing height, and it was because of this that he successfully offset part of the damage caused by the explosion. At that time, Cheng Yu had no time to think deeply. He had only one simple and firm thought in his mind. They all had family and friends, and he was alone, so it was the most appropriate choice for him to take this risk. So, he took Cell and teleported away without hesitation. As for why he teleported to this desolate planet, it turned out that this was where Cheng Yu lived when he first arrived in the Dragon Ball world. At the beginning, the system marked this planet so that he could teleport back at any time. Cheng Yu, who had woken up at this time, immediately flew into the universe with his weak body. He looked solemnly at the planet where he had lived for a long time after coming to this world. Once, that planet carried the most relaxing and comfortable memories of his life alone. Those times of practicing alone, those quiet nights, and those fantasies of the starry sky were all deeply engraved in his heart. However, now, the planet has been completely blown up in Cell's explosion, turned into dust in the universe, and dissipated in the endless darkness. Cheng Yu's eyes were full of regret and sadness. He stood silently in the void for a long time without saying a word. The beauty of the past was as short and brilliant as a meteor, but now there is only desolation and silence. Cheng Yu took a deep breath, as if to swallow all the endless regrets. He knew that life had to go on, and he had to fight to protect more beauty. Cheng Yu took out a fairy bean and took it without hesitation. In an instant, the magical effect was revealed. His body recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his own breath was instantly filled. Then, he returned to the planet where he was blown up by the explosion and adjusted his state slightly. Then, he put his fingers together, leaned on his forehead, and concentrated on searching for the breath of people on the earth. He closed his eyes tightly, frowned slightly, and felt with full concentration. The air around him seemed to be frozen, and only his steady breathing sounded particularly clear in the silence. After unremitting efforts in the vast universe, Cheng Yu finally found the breath of the protagonist group. Without the slightest hesitation, he flashed and moved in front of the protagonist group in an instant. When everyone saw Cheng Yu suddenly appear, they first showed a look of surprise on their faces, and then they were replaced by joy. Sun Wukong walked up and patted Cheng Yu on the shoulder, his eyes full of relief. Piccolo nodded slightly, his mouth corners raised, revealing a rare smile. Krillin jumped up excitedly and cheered loudly. Vegeta held his hands in front of his chest. Although his expression was still a little arrogant, the concern in his eyes could not be concealed. Trunks also walked quickly to Cheng Yu's side, with admiration in his eyes. Cheng Yu looked at everyone, and a warm current surged in his heart. The dangers and hardships he had just experienced were no longer important at this moment, because he was back among these partners who fought side by side. When everyone saw Cheng Yu, they immediately rushed forward like a tide, surrounded him tightly, their faces full of concern and curiosity, and asked what was going on. Cheng Yu looked at everyone's anxious appearance, still with a warm and calm smile on his face, and explained the ins and outs of the matter to everyone in detail and patiently in an orderly manner. His voice was steady and clear, and every detail was described very well, making everyone understand the whole process as if they were there. After listening to Cheng Yu's story, everyone couldn't help but admire his fearless courage and decisive decision-making at the critical moment. Everyone's eyes were full of admiration and gratitude, and the atmosphere on the scene was warm and full of warmth. At this moment, Bulma, who was standing aside, waved her hand excitedly and proposed loudly, "Let's go to my house for a dinner to celebrate the successful elimination of Cell. After such a big battle, we have to relax and enjoy this moment of victory." Her eyes sparkled with excitement and her face was filled with a bright smile. Her proposal was instantly unanimously agreed by everyone, and cheers came one after another. Everyone's faces were blooming with the joy of victory, and their smiles were as bright as the sun, and their eyes were full of eager anticipation for the upcoming happy dinner, as if they had already seen the warm scene of everyone sitting together, laughing and sharing delicious food. On the way to Bulma's house, everyone was flying and talking happily, and laughter echoed in the air. The whole atmosphere was relaxed and pleasant. At this moment, Cheng Yu's originally relaxed expression suddenly became a little solemn, and a voice appeared in his mind without warning. The voice seemed to come from the depths of the distance, buzzing in his mind. It turned out that Cell was destroyed, and the system that had been silently accompanying and helping him started the upgrade program. This sudden situation made Cheng Yu's body slightly startled, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. But soon, he tried to calm himself down, but he couldn't help but secretly speculate in his heart, what new functions will this system upgrade bring? What unexpected changes and surprises are waiting for him? Everyone finally arrived at Bulma's house. As soon as they entered the door, a table full of delicious food came into view. Everyone sat down and started to eat a big meal. During the meal, Cheng Yu was in a good mood and even teased Vegeta. "Vegeta, you really married a beautiful and virtuous rich woman." As soon as this sentence came out, it was immediately agreed by everyone. Everyone was stunned at first, and then burst into a hearty laugh. After the laughter, the atmosphere gradually became serious. After some discussion, everyone decided to find the Dragon Ball to restore the huge damage caused by this incident and the innocent humans cruelly destroyed by Cell. They knew that this was their responsibility and to restore the world to its former peace and tranquility. In the Temple of Heaven, Cheng Yu solemnly asked for 2 wishes to revive the 2 androids and remove the bombs in their bodies. His eyes were firm and his voice was loud. Dr. Groh was too cruel to transform the siblings. But they are innocent, and they are not like the cruel androids in the future world. Everyone listened to Cheng Yu's words and fell into deep thought. Vegeta frowned at first, clasped his hands in front of his chest, and snorted with reluctance, "Artificial people. Humph, what is there to sympathize with?" But when he recalled the kindness and helplessness shown by the siblings in the battle, as well as the pain they endured, Vegeta's expression gradually eased. Others also nodded in agreement. Their eyes were full of sympathy and pity, knowing the injustice and pain suffered by the siblings. So, after some discussion, everyone finally decided to meet Cheng Yu's proposal, restore the 2 androids, and give them new life and freedom. After making the wish, a magical light shone, and the android siblings successfully recovered, and the fatal bomb in their bodies was also removed. The brother and sister asked everyone with confusion, "What is going on? How did we suddenly recover?" Everyone pointed at Cheng Yu and said, "Cheng Yu fought for you." So, the 2 of them came to Cheng Yu, and the sister spoke first. "Thank you, Cheng Yu, if it weren't for you, we don't know what would happen." The brother also said, "Thank you so much." Cheng Yu didn't say much, just smiled and waved his hand, and asked them with concern, "What are your plans next? Do you have a place to go?" They thought about it, and the sister replied, "We don't know where to go." Seeing this, Cheng Yu warmly invited them, "Why don't you stay at my house? Anyway, the house is big enough, and I'm bored living alone." The brother hesitated, "Will this be too much trouble for you?" Cheng Yu smiled and said, No, but you 2 have to help with housework when you come." The 2 hesitated for a while, looked at each other, and the sister said, "Okay, we are willing." Then they agreed happily. One day, the warm sunshine generously sprinkled in the yard, making every corner bright and warm. The breeze blew gently, bringing the fragrance of flowers and the fresh breath of grass. Cheng Yu, number 17 and number 18 enjoyed this moment of peace and leisure in the yard as usual. Number 17 lay on the lawn, with his hands behind his head, looking at the blue sky, and suddenly his eyes turned and a sly smile appeared on his face. He nudged his sister number 18 with his elbow and said with a hint of sarcasm, "Sister, I have to tell you, I have seen it all during this period. I found that you have been very different to Cheng Yu recently. Every time he is around, your eyes become particularly gentle, the corners of your mouth always unconsciously rise, and even the tone of your speech is much softer than usual. Sister, tell me the truth, are you secretly in love with him?" Number 18 was originally leisurely enjoying the beautiful scenery around her, and when she heard her brother's words, her face suddenly turned red, like the gorgeous sunset in the sky. She glared at number 17 with shame and anger, and said coquettishly, "You little brat, you are not serious all day long, and you only think about all kinds of things. Don't talk nonsense here. We are just getting along normally, not what you said." Cheng Yu, who was standing by, felt a little embarrassed when he heard this. His face turned slightly red, and he scratched his head embarrassedly, and hurriedly said, "Number 17, don't joke around, don't say anything. We are just getting along like friends, don't think about it wrongly." But number 17 was not willing to give up. He sat up all of a sudden, with a more wanton smile on his face, and continued to say with a smile, "Sister, don't deny it. You see, every time Cheng Yu speaks, you listen very carefully, without blinking. And, a few days ago, Cheng Yu was accidentally injured, and you were so nervous, I saw it clearly. You are not like this usually, you don't care so much about others." 18 Number 17 was even more embarrassed by what he said, and stamped her feet in anger. She couldn't hold back any longer and pretended to reach out to hit number 17, shouting, "I'll teach you a lesson for talking nonsense. You have no sense of propriety. You just make fun of your sister all day long." Number 17 dodged her sister's attack flexibly, laughing as she ran. "Sister, I was right, so just admit it." The yard was filled with their laughter, and this cheerful atmosphere seemed to dispel all the haze. At this time, Cheng Yu came forward and tried to persuade. "Okay, stop making trouble, let's enjoy this wonderful time." Number 18 stopped chasing, panting slightly, and rolled his eyes at number 17. Humph, I'll forgive you this time. Number 17 smiled and ran back to her sister, pulling her arm and said coquettishly, Sister, I was just joking, don't be angry. Number 18 sighed helplessly. You naughty ghost, if you do this again next time, I really can't forgive you. The three of them smiled at each other, and the atmosphere became relaxed and happy again. They sat down under the shade of the trees in the yard and continued to enjoy this quiet time. The breeze gently brushed their faces, bringing a hint of coolness. Number 18 secretly glanced at Cheng Yu, and a ripple appeared in her heart. She was also thinking about her brother's words. Did she really have a special feeling for Cheng Yu? Thinking of this, her face turned slightly red again. Cheng Yu seemed to notice No 18's gaze, and turned his head, and their eyes met instantly. Number 18 looked away in panic, and Cheng Yu smiled a little embarrassedly. Number 17 looked at the reactions of the two and smiled secretly in his heart. He knew that some special emotions were quietly sprouting. The sun was still shining warmly in the yard, and their laughter and words echoed in the air, as if time had stopped for this moment, allowing this beautiful friendship to slowly settle and sublimate over the years. Cheng Yu seemed to enjoy this rare time, and he smiled helplessly when he saw the brother and sister who often played and fought. There was a bit of indulgence and love in his eyes, which was a cherishment of the vibrant scene in front of him. In this warm atmosphere, a warm current surged in Cheng Yu's heart. He sat quietly aside, his thoughts drifting. Once, he was alone on a long road, and loneliness and solitude were his most familiar companions. However, at this moment, number 17 and number 18, their laughter, their quarrels, all make this originally quiet yard full of vitality and vigor. Cheng Yu may not know that he is no longer alone. He has someone to accompany him, a group of friends. Once, he was groping in the dark alone, his heart longed for warmth and understanding. Now, the mischief of number 17 and the gentleness and kindness of number 18 are like stars, lighting up his world. Cheng Yu raised his head slightly, looking at the clouds floating in the sky, and his mouth corners unconsciously rose. He knew that this was what he had always longed for, and this was what he needed most in his heart. With them, his life is no longer monotonous and lonely. There may be challenges in the future, but he is no longer afraid, because he knows that with these partners around him, they will face it bravely together and go through every difficulty together. Ding! System update completed. A sudden voice sounded in Cheng Yu's mind, and Cheng Yu immediately came back to his senses. He was immediately ecstatic, because the system can now be said to be not only a tool to help him become stronger, but also a friend who has been with him for so long. System, why do you update every time I finish following the plot? Explain it. This system has been accompanying the host to become stronger and go through the plot for so long. With the end of each stage of the plot, the system's capabilities and functions have also become stronger. It can also be said that it has become stronger with the host. So what have you updated this time? Introduce it. Can you make me the strongest in the world in one step? I suggest that the host should not sleep and dream during the day. This system update cancels the sign-in function and replaces it with selection and tasks. After completing the selected tasks, the rewards are very rich. So that means that in addition to the richer rewards, I also need to complete the selected tasks. What the hell did you update? It's better to sign in. By the way, I haven't used the last sign-in for so long. It's a loss. Don't be sad, host. Here I reward you with a system upgrade gift package. By the way, I suggest that the host go to the training room to open it. Cheng Yu was also confused. Why do you have to go to the training room to open this system reward gift package? I don't understand. But I still did it, it wouldn't take much time anyway. I said hello to number 17 and number 18 and said I was going to train and walked away. Okay system, open it for me, I want to see what kind of monsters are in your gift bag. If it's not a good thing, you can wait for me to say hello to your 18 generations of ancestors. Vegeta's potential and bloodline rewarded by the system are merging, but just at the moment of merging, Cheng Yu felt a piercing pain. This pain is like countless sharp knives, cutting his body wantonly, and every inch of skin and every nerve is shrouded by this unbearable pain. Cheng Yu gritted his teeth, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. His hands were clenched into fists, and his nails were deeply embedded in his palms, but he could not feel the pain in his hands at all, because the severe pain inside his body had occupied all his perceptions. He tried to take a deep breath to relieve the pain, but every breath was like struggling in a sea of fire. The pain became more and more intense, as if to tear his soul apart. Ah! Cheng Yu couldn't help but groan in pain, and his body trembled involuntarily, as if he was fighting a desperate battle with an invisible powerful force. After a while, Cheng Yu finally took a breath and started to curse at the system. What kind of crappy reward is this? It hurts so much, is your system deliberately messing with me? His voice became a little hoarse due to anger and pain, and his eyes were full of anger. I was expecting some powerful help, but this happened to me. Who can bear this heart-piercing pain? Cheng Yu continued to roar, as if he wanted to vent all his dissatisfaction in his heart. System, give me an explanation. Why is this fusion so painful? You didn't tell me in advance. He panted, his chest heaving violently, and his expression on his face was a little distorted because of anger. Because your bloodline is different from Vegito's, it is equivalent to replacing bloodline, which must be painful, but in order to become stronger, the host can just endure it, right? Then system, explain to me why the blood is different. And didn't you say that my potential is infinite? Why do I need to replace it now? Because there is a little bit of pure blood of the original Saiyan in the blood of Vegeta and Sun Wukong, and you are actually an ordinary person, Saiyan with infinite potential. Vegito is the strongest warrior of the dimension fused by two people, so naturally help you, an ordinary person, to upgrade your Saiyan blood. In this way, your potential and practice will be very strong and fast. Think about how many years you have practiced before. Cheng Yu calculated carefully. Not only relying on the check in combat power given by the system, but also the time in the spiritual time house and the outside world. After careful calculation, it seems that except for resting, a lot of time is spent on practice. On the contrary, it is only now that I have transformed into Super Saiyan 4, while in the original plot, it takes only a few years on the Destroyer planet to go from Super Saiyan God to Ultra Instinct. With this calculation, it is true that I can practice unlimitedly to enhance my combat power in the future, but it is very difficult to say that others practice for 1 year to catch up with my 3 or 4 years of practice. Now I am speechless, very speechless. System, now my potential and training speed have far surpassed the protagonists. Shouldn't you explain it to me in detail? Now your potential is the same as Vegeta. And the training will become faster than before. Of course, if either Sun Wukong or Vegeta is close to your combat power, then the fusion will still surpass you. To put it bluntly, now you are equivalent to Vegeta, the strongest warrior in the dimension who needs to practice by himself. After Cheng Yu understood the introduction of the system, the anger in his heart dissipated by half. He knew that although the fusion process just now was extremely painful, the huge potential behind it was immeasurable. Without the slightest hesitation, Cheng Yu immediately started training. His eyes were firm, full of determination and fighting spirit. He started with basic physical training, running around the training ground one circle after another, sweating like rain, soaking his clothes, but his steps never stopped. Then, he did strength training, lifting heavy barbells again and again. The muscles in his arms were tense, veins bulged, and every time he exerted force, he was accompanied by a low roar. During the endurance training, although his body was exhausted, Cheng Yu still gritted his teeth and persisted, constantly challenging his limits. He knew that only by putting in more effort than ordinary people could he truly master more powerful power and achieve his goals. By the way, system, I can now transform into a Super Saiyan 4, so can I still practice the God route with the protagonists? Or can I master the beast form like Son Gohan? Yes, but the development method of each form is different. I suggest that you develop your own system. How can I develop this? I'm not the ancestor of the Saiyans. I need to explore step by step. Now that I know the plot, can I put the plot in the system? What about form fusion? Quote. Cheng Yu thought about the various forms of Saiyans in Dragon Ball, such as the Ultra Instinct of Sun Wukong in the later period, which is a magical realm that transcends common sense and fights by physical instinct, and the powerful strength it shows is amazing. Vegeta's Super Blue evolution is Deep Blue, and his strength and speed have been significantly improved, and his performance in battle is amazing. There is also self-easy, which is a deep excavation of one's own potential. Sun Wuhan has potential development, which is the mysterious form, and further beast form, each of which has unique strength and characteristics. So now that Cheng Yu has integrated Vegito's potential, it can be said that he can take any route, but what if he develops his own form? After all, Vegito in the original plot is a combined warrior, and he also uses the forms of Sun Wukong and Vegeta. Developing your own form is a road full of unknowns and challenges. No one knows what difficulties will be encountered, nor can they predict what heights will be reached in the end. But Cheng Yu's eyes flashed with a firm light, and he was determined to embark on this unknown exploration road to create his own legendary form. Cheng Yu thought about it. Now he has the original wild form of the Saiyan, Super Saiyan 4. He knows that this is just a starting point, not the end. So, he decided to see if he can successfully transform into the form of Super Saiyan God. After all, it is urgent to develop the form that can be mastered first. He calmed down, felt the hidden power in his body, and tried to awaken the dormant mysterious energy. Cheng Yu recalled the various characteristics and essentials of the Super Saiyan God form, and adjusted his breath and state of mind. At this time, he was concentrating on, everything around him seemed to have ceased to exist, and in his world there was only the pursuit of power and the exploration of form. After some effort, Cheng Yu felt the power in his body begin to surge, which was a new and powerful energy. He knew that he was moving towards the form of Super Saiyan God. And the form that belonged to Saiyans was already there, so the next step was the God route. Cheng Yu understood that this would be a road full of hardships and challenges, but there was no retreat or fear in his eyes, only firm determination and endless desire. In order to practice the God route and master the transformation of Super Saiyan God, Cheng Yu did not summon 5 people with a heart of justice to input their mental power to transform into Super Saiyan God according to the original plot. Because after Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta also relied on his own efforts to practice and become Super Saiyan God, so Cheng Yu, who has the potential of Vegito, also decided to practice by himself without relying on external forces. The most important thing to practice Super Saiyan God is the Spirit of God, and this thing just happens that the Spirit of the gods on earth contains some of the Spirit of God. It just so happens that Sun Wukong recently said that he brought Tiantian from Namek to earth to take over as the gods, so he just went to take a look. Cheng Yu came to the Temple of the Gods with full expectations. At this time, the atmosphere of the Temple of the Gods was different from before, because the old gods and Piccolo merged into one, and Sun Wukong brought Tiantian from Namek as the new gods. Cheng Yu respectfully explained his intention to Tiantian and asked her to release some of the Spirit of God on him. Tiantian looked at Cheng Yu's firm and fiery eyes, nodded slightly, and then raised his hand gently, and a pure and mysterious divine breath was injected into Cheng Yu's body. After Cheng Yu thanked him, he hurried back to his home training room. In the training room, there was silence, only Cheng Yu's slightly rapid breathing. He closed his eyes, calmed down, and began to carefully feel the divine breath injected into his body. At first, the divine breath wandered in his body, like a naughty child, elusive. Cheng Yu tried to concentrate, trying to capture its trajectory and understand its characteristics. Cheng Yu gradually had his own understanding in his perception. He felt that this divine breath was not a simple powerful force, but a mysterious energy containing rules and order. It is not as violent and direct as ordinary power, but has a restrained depth, as if it is the embodiment of the potential law of the universe. Time passed slowly, and beads of sweat gradually appeared on Cheng Yu's forehead, but he was still fully focused, not letting go of any subtle feelings. Finally, he began to gradually find some ways and could vaguely sense the flow of the divine energy. Cheng Yu knew that this was just the beginning. If he wanted to truly master the divine energy, there was still a long way to go. But he firmly believed that as long as he persevered, he would succeed. However, Cheng Yu did not give up. He knew that on this road full of unknowns, he could only rely on his own perception to cultivate the divine energy and then develop the transformation of the divine energy. Cheng Yu was an ordinary person after all. In order to perceive the divine energy, it took a lot of time. Cheng Yu also asked the system if there was a faster way, but there were still only 5 righteous Saiyans delivering the heart energy and perceiving the divine energy by himself. So Cheng Yu chose the most difficult route of the day in order not to interfere too much with the development of the plot. Every day, when the first ray of sunlight sprinkled into his simple practice room through the gap in the window, Cheng Yu started a day of practice on time. He sat on the ground, crossed his legs, put his hands on his knees naturally, closed his eyes, and concentrated on feeling the divine energy in his body. At first, the divine energy was like a naughty elf, always wandering on the edge of his perception, elusive. But Cheng Yu was not impatient at all. He adjusted his breathing over and over again, making his mind like a calm lake, without waves. As time went by, Cheng Yu gradually caught the existence of that trace of divine energy. He carefully guided this weak force to flow slowly in his meridians. However, this divine energy was extremely powerful and difficult to control. If he was not careful, it would cause a huge impact on his meridians. Every impact made Cheng Yu painful, beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, and his body trembled slightly because of the pain. But he gritted his teeth, endured the severe pain, and continued to persevere. Days passed day by day in cultivation, and Cheng Yu's life became monotonous and boring. He gave up gatherings with friends, ignored the hustle and bustle of the outside world, and immersed himself completely in the world of cultivation. Sometimes, he would feel physically and mentally exhausted due to long-term cultivation, and even had the idea of giving up. But as long as he thought of the powerful power of the Super Saiyan God and the dream in his heart, he would cheer up again. At night, when the stars illuminated the night sky, Cheng Yu was still thinking hard in the practice room. He constantly reviewed the process of his cultivation, summed up his experience and lessons, and tried to find the key to breakthrough. He often stared at the starry sky alone in the dead of night, thinking about the mysteries of the universe and the true meaning of the Spirit of God. During this long time of cultivation, Cheng Yu's state of mind was gradually changing. He became more calm and tenacious, and was no longer affected by external interference. The inner belief is like a burning flame, burning more and more vigorously. He understands that there is no end to the road of cultivation. Only by constantly surpassing oneself can one reach a higher realm. Although he doesn't know how long it will take to succeed, Cheng Yu firmly believes that as long as he perseveres, he will be able to master the transformation of the Super Saiyan God one day and make a good start for the God route. Another long time has passed. Except for eating and sleeping, Cheng Yu basically stays in the training room every day, feeling the Spirit of God with all his heart. That small training room seems to have become his whole world, and all the prosperity and noise in the outside world have nothing to do with him. In this day-to-day practice, Cheng Yu's concentration and persistence are amazing. He forgot the passage of time and the fatigue of his body, and only had the persistent pursuit of the Spirit of God in his heart. Every minute and every second, he is trying to feel the mysterious and powerful power with his heart, trying to unveil its veil and master its essence. Hard work pays off. Now Cheng Yu can skillfully integrate this trace of spirit into his body and use it. This is the result of his hard work for countless days and nights, and the best reward for his perseverance. When Cheng Yu successfully integrated the spirit into himself for the first time, he felt an unprecedented power surging in his body. It was no longer a simple burst of power in the past, but a deep, restrained energy with infinite possibilities. He could clearly feel that his body and soul were undergoing subtle changes under the nourishment of this power. Cheng Yu began to try to use this fused power, and he found that his perception ability had been greatly improved, and he could more keenly capture the subtle changes in the surrounding environment. His movements also became lighter and more flexible, as if he could get rid of the constraints of gravity. Moreover, when using power, he was no longer as laborious and stiff as before, but could control the output of power at will, reaching a subtle state. But then there was another big problem. The spirit could be used, but there was only a trace of it, and it disappeared completely after it was used. This made Cheng Yu fall into deep trouble. The results he had finally achieved seemed to become fragile in the face of this cruel reality. Not only could he not develop the form of Super Saiyan God, but his training was back to the starting point. All the efforts he had made before seemed to vanish in an instant, and the feeling of loss and frustration surged into his heart like a tide. Cheng Yu looked at the empty training room, his eyes full of confusion and unwillingness. He didn't understand why fate had to play such a trick on him. He had clearly seen the dawn of hope, but was swallowed up by darkness in an instant. However, Cheng Yu's tenacity and indomitable spirit quickly cheered him up. He told himself that this was only a temporary setback and he must not be defeated like this. He began to re-examine his training methods and think about how to make this trace of divine energy continue to grow, instead of disappearing after it was used up. After Cheng Yu's continuous research and deepening of his understanding of this trace of divine energy, he almost forgot to eat and sleep. Every minute and every second, his mind was completely immersed in the exploration of this mysterious power. Cheng Yu found that the divine energy would not change much when it was completely integrated into his body, which might be due to the lack of divine energy. This discovery made him fall into a brief contemplation, frowning, and constantly thinking about various possibilities in his mind. However, after further research by Cheng Yu, he finally found a key breakthrough point. He was pleasantly surprised to find that when he transformed into a Super Saiyan, the energy belonging to the Super Saiyan could cover this trace of divine energy. This discovery was like a ray of light in the darkness, giving him hope. So, Cheng Yu did not hesitate to keep the Super Saiyan in full power, covering the energy of the Super Saiyan with divine energy. In this process, he needed to concentrate highly and keep precise control of the divine energy at all times, which was a great test of his willpower and concentration. As time passed slowly, the divine energy gradually grew under his efforts. Every bit of growth made Cheng Yu feel extremely excited, and he knew that he was moving towards his goal step by step. It was a long time again, and during that long time, Cheng Yu never slacked off. He devoted himself to the control and practice of the divine energy, and finally completely replaced the breath used by the Super Saiyan in his body with the divine energy. However, this was only a staged victory, but he did not completely integrate the Super Saiyan. Cheng Yu knew that the road ahead was still full of challenges, but since there was a direction, the next step was the key process of integration. Cheng Yu stood in the empty training field, his expression solemn and focused. He took a deep breath and prepared to start the fusion of his normal energy with the divine energy. Then, Cheng Yu began to try to guide the mysterious divine energy. The divine energy was somewhat resistant at first, as if it was unwilling to merge with its normal energy. But Cheng Yu did not give up. He concentrated his mind and used his strong willpower to control and reconcile the two forces. Slowly, the spirit began to loosen and approached his own energy little by little. The moment the two forces came into contact, Cheng Yu's body trembled violently, and great pain came over him, as if his body was about to be torn apart. But he gritted his teeth, endured the pain, and continued to work hard to merge. The spirit and his own energy intertwined and collided with each other, sometimes conflicting, and sometimes merging. Cheng Yu constantly adjusted his breath and state of mind to keep himself calm and focused. With his unremitting efforts, the two forces gradually found a balance and began to slowly merge together. A mysterious light gradually revealed in the golden flame, which was a sign of the fusion of the spirit and himself. Cheng Yu could feel that his strength was constantly increasing, and his body was also undergoing wonderful changes. In this fusion process, Cheng Yu has always maintained a high degree of concentration, devoting himself to the control of power, so that a lot of mental energy is consumed. His forehead was covered with sweat, his face was slightly pale, but his eyes were firm and persistent. At this time, the sky outside was first windy, and the wind whistled and swept over, shaking the trees and blowing the branches and leaves. Then the wind scattered and the rain fell, and the big raindrops hit the ground with a crackling sound, forming puddles. Then the sky was clear again, and the sun instantly penetrated the clouds, casting dazzling light. The speed of this change was jaw-dropping. Then a red light fell from the sky, with amazing momentum, and fell directly to Cheng Yu's house. In an instant, the light was radiant, and the surrounding air seemed to be burned hot. At this time, Cheng Yu closed his eyes and was unaware of the series of strange changes in the outside world. He was completely immersed in his own world, fighting and merging fiercely with the power in his body, and was completely unaware of the earth-shaking outside world. The red light that fell from the sky directly enveloped the area around Cheng Yu's house, reflecting that area red, and the light was so strong that people could hardly open their eyes. Cheng Yu finally opened his eyes at this time. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes, but it was soon replaced by determination. Suddenly, the red light surrounding Cheng Yu seemed to be attracted by some powerful force, and rushed towards Cheng Yu at a very fast speed, and was instantly absorbed by Cheng Yu. At the moment of absorbing this light, Cheng Yu's body trembled slightly, and a powerful energy surged in his body. At this time, Cheng Yu's body was also gradually changing. He changed from a Super Saiyan to a Super Saiyan with bright red hair, a thinner body, and a full body. The body is wrapped in aura like the flame of the sun, the eyes are enlarged and the pupils are revealed. In Dragon Ball Super, the eyes become something with outlines, and the colors of the pupils and irises become black and red respectively, the skin becomes whiter, and the appearance becomes younger and more youthful in a new form, Super Saiyan God. At this time, the protagonists on Earth have felt the aura released by Cheng Yu since the beginning, and now they can't feel any breath at all, so they all fly to Cheng Yu's home from all directions. Cheng Yu has transformed into a Super Saiyan God at this time, so he uses the aura of God completely, so except for the gods on Earth who can feel a little breath, no one else can detect this breath. Cheng Yu carefully observed himself, not missing any subtle changes, and then concentrated on feeling his own aura, trying to figure out the impact of the red light he just absorbed on him. At this time, number 18 and number 17 at home had already come here when the abnormal phenomenon appeared outside just now. They looked nervous and curious, staring at Cheng Yu closely, observing his every move. Cheng Yu also noticed the two of them, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. Cheng Yu lifted the state, the light and breath on his body gradually converged, and then greeted them. No. 18, number 17, what's wrong? Is there anything? At this time, not only the two siblings looked at Cheng Yu, but even Sun Wukong and Vegeta had come to Cheng Yu's yard and called Cheng Yu's name. After Cheng Yu lifted the transformation of Super Saiyan God, everyone also felt Cheng Yu's breath and breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, in a strange space in the universe, on a planet, a blue-skinned man holding a scepter looked at Cheng Yu projected from above the scepter and felt interesting, and then said to himself, an ordinary person practicing the spirit of God. He is a Saiyan, it seems that I should go to see him. But Lord Beerus is still resting, alas. That's right, the moment Cheng Yu successfully transformed into a Super Saiyan God by practicing the spirit of God, the angel Whis noticed this person who practiced the spirit of God and transformed. Cheng Yu, who used the spirit of God to transform, and the normal state was still the breath of an ordinary person, made Whis feel very interested. Just after explaining to number 17 and number 18 that he was developing his new transformation, Cheng Yu walked into the yard and found that all the protagonists had gathered. Why are you all here? Cheng Yu looked at this group of people in a daze, and began to reflect that he didn't seem to have done anything right. Humph, we are fine at home. If your breath hadn't suddenly disappeared, we wouldn't have come here. Vegeta still said this with a proud look, but Cheng Yu heard a little meaning from it. That is, he seemed to regard himself as a companion, and when his breath disappeared, he quickly came to check the reason. Don't worry, this is my new form, let me explain it to you briefly. Cheng Yu explained to everyone that he found the difference between the breath of God and ordinary people, and then replaced his breath with the research and development of the God's breath released every day through the Temple of Heaven, but Cheng Yu did not talk about his Super Saiyan God form. Wow, I see. So this is what you meant when you asked Tiantian for the divine energy when you went to the Temple of Heaven that day. So that means the divine energy is different from that of ordinary people. If we use the divine energy, we will be gods, right? Sun Wukong finally grew up from his usual stupid look. He asked this question that everyone was curious about. Okay, I won't explain it to you anymore. You are also curious, right? Then let's go to the wild and I will show you. Cheng Yu took the lead and flew out of the yard. Everyone was also curious and followed Cheng Yu. Cheng Yu led the protagonists to the open wild. The breeze blew gently, bringing a hint of coolness. Cheng Yu stood in front of everyone, but did not speak. He just looked at everyone quietly, and then raised the corners of his mouth slightly and smiled. There seemed to be some deep meaning in that smile, and it seemed to be just pure relaxation and pleasure. Everyone was a little confused by his smile, but they were all looking forward to his next move. Cheng Yu took a deep breath, as if he wanted to absorb all the energy around him. His eyes suddenly became extremely sharp, like lightning, able to penetrate all obstacles. He clenched his fists, his knuckles turned white, his muscles tightened, and every inch of his skin was full of power. Then, he began to mobilize the energy of the Super Saiyan God in his body, and the mysterious and powerful force flowed through his meridians like a surging tide. A dazzling red light emanated from Cheng Yu's body, and the light became stronger and stronger, wrapping him up. His hair quickly turned into a dazzling red from the roots, and each strand stood upright like a burning flame. The light dissipated, and what appeared in front of everyone was that Cheng Yu's figure suddenly changed dramatically in the open field. His original hair color instantly turned bright red, bright and dazzling, like a burning fire. His body became more handsome and thin, and every line was smooth and full of power. His whole body was covered with aura like the flame of the sun, which burned fiercely, hot and dazzling, as if it was going to burn everything around. His eyes were large and his pupils were visible, deep and bright, like the bright stars in the night sky. His fair skin was even more crystal clear and exuded a charming luster under the reflection of the aura. His appearance also became younger and more youthful, full of vigor and vitality. At this moment, he was in a brand new form, the Super Saiyan God form. Wait, I can't feel any breath. I'm still here, still emitting energy, but I can't feel it. Sun Wukong found out that something was wrong at the first time. He couldn't find the breath and energy even with instant movement, so he said it directly. After Sun Wukong said this, everyone began to close their eyes and feel the breath and energy. The result was the same, they couldn't feel it, as if they had disappeared from this world. As you can see, this is the so-called Super Saiyan God form, which is simply a Super Saiyan with the power of God. Cheng Yu explained this form to everyone. Wow, Cheng Yu, come and fight, let me see how powerful this form is. When Sun Wukong was training with Sun Gohan in the Temple of Heaven last time, he heard that Cheng Yu had a very strong Saiyan wild form. Sun Wukong himself was still upset for not having seen it. Now there is another new form, and it is a god. This must be tried, the hot-blooded genes in the Saiyan body are boiling. Okay, Vegeta, Gohan, do you want to try it? My normal combat power is much higher than yours, so you can come together and use your strongest combat power. Cheng Yu smiled slightly, and then flew high into the sky. HMPH, what Super Saiyan God form? This prince is the most powerful one. Wait, I will definitely defeat you. Vegeta couldn't stand Cheng Yu asking them to come together, so he burst out all his energy and turned into Super Saiyan 1 and flew high into the sky. Vegeta took the lead, Son Gohan burst out all his energy and turned into Super Saiyan 2, and Son Goku also burst out all his energy and turned into Super Saiyan 1 and followed closely. Cheng Yu maintained the Super Saiyan God form, suspended in the air, and fought fiercely with Vegeta, Son Goku and Son Gohan. However, surprisingly, the three of them could not feel Cheng Yu's breath and energy, which put them in an extremely passive position. Cheng Yu relied on his powerful fighting power to dodge and attack them. His movements were as fast as lightning, making the three of them defenseless. In the fierce battle, Son Gohan was accidentally knocked out by Cheng Yu's powerful force, fell to the ground and returned to normal. Son Goku and Vegeta each looked in a direction, nervously looking at the sky, their eyes full of vigilance and confusion. Cheng Yu saw that the two people cooperated tacitly, and his heart trembled, and he instantly split a lot of clones. Since they could not feel the spirit of God, they could not determine who was the real body. Cheng Yu seized this opportunity and fired Kamehameha waves with his clones. The powerful energy wave rushed towards Son Goku and Vegeta like a tidal wave. The two were unable to resist this sudden and powerful attack, and were finally defeated and returned to normal. At this moment in the sky, Cheng Yu's figure looked extremely powerful and mysterious, and his victory shocked everyone. Cheng Yu lifted the transformation and slowly landed on the ground, and Krillin also helped Son Gohan over from the other side. Cheng Yu witnessed taking out the Senzu beans from the system space and feeding them one by one to make them recover. I just transformed into this form, so I haven't mastered the power of this form, so I was a little heavy, don't mind it. Cheng Yu also explained to everyone, so as not to let everyone misunderstand that he was too heavy. Ah, no, Cheng Yu, your form is too strong, can you teach me? Sun Wukong was the first to come over and say. Well, you also know that I even developed the transformation to Super Saiyan 3 before developing other forms. I suggest that you still practice according to the regular transformation, and practice the transformation of God's Qi and Super Saiyan God after your body is strong enough, otherwise your body will not be able to withstand the God's Qi and will be blown up by the God's Qi. Cheng Yu also gave everyone a very honest suggestion, because Cheng Yu still remembers the feeling when he integrated the God's Qi into his body. By the way, Goku, you can spar with Vegeta anytime, so that your fighting power will increase faster. After all, Saiyans will constantly break through themselves in battle. Son Gohan broke through when fighting Cell. And Gohan, you must practice well and don't waste your talent. I'm going to go back to adapt to the transformation first, otherwise this divine energy will be very uncomfortable in my body. Cheng Yu pretended that he was very uncomfortable with the burden of the transformation and took number 17 and number 18 back. Seeing this, everyone dispersed. Congratulations to the host for defeating Son Goku, Vegeta, and Son Gohan, and receiving the reward of the evolutionary root of the Super Saiyan God, Senzu Beans X100, and the second stage of teleportation. Well, what's going on? Is there a reward for defeating the opponent? Isn't it said that there will be rewards only after the system issues a task? Come out and explain the system. Cheng Yu had just returned home, and he was stunned when he heard the prompt sound of the system giving rewards in his mind. The system will give rewards according to the character when defeating the opponent for the first time, and the system tasks will be issued at irregular intervals. The host will also receive rewards when he reaches a certain stage of cultivation. Please explore on your own. After listening to the explanation of the system, Cheng Yu was speechless. You are a very intelligent system, but you want me to explore on my own. It's true. Cheng Yu was not angry, but checked the rewards given by the system. It can be said that Cheng Yu had known about the second stage of teleportation before. It does not require breath to move directly there. You only need to remember the location and imagine that place in your mind to move there instantly. Needless to say, Senzu beans are always available at home. Mainly, the evolutionary root of the Super Saiyan God fascinated Cheng Yu. After several dozen minutes, Cheng Yu figured out that there are two evolutionary roots. The first one is also said in the original plot. The normal state of the Saiyan who releases the breath of God in his body is Super Saiyan God, and the Super Saiyan who releases the breath of God is Super Blue. The normal state without releasing the breath of God is the normal state with black hair. This is the routine, and then practice the God's control skills to improve combat power. The second is to continue to develop the use of energy and breath in the form of Super Saiyan Blue to master new transformations. Cheng Yu thought about it carefully. If he could cover the transformation of Super Saiyan IV, which belongs to the primitive wildness of the Saiyan, with the breath of God and even use the power of God, then the increase of this form will reach a very outrageous degree. Or from Super Saiyan Blue I, develop Super Saiyan Blue 2, or even Super Saiyan Blue 3. Or directly replace the power he is using now with the power of God and the breath of God, and then each of his transformations is increased to the extent of increase. Forget it, these are just ideas. I'll practice slowly. By the way, I'll go shopping with the two siblings tomorrow and have a good rest. Cheng Yu also calmed down his mentality. Anyway, he can beat Buu no matter whether he is Super Saiyan 4 or Super Saiyan God. And there is still a long time before Buu. After living for such a long time, Cheng Yu is also used to having a woman around him. When there is nothing to do, she can talk to you, help you, and fight with you. It's simply amazing. Where is No. 17? It turns out that some time ago, number 17 resolutely embarked on the road of pursuing his dream, dedicated to protecting the ecological environment and those precious wild animals. With full enthusiasm and firm belief, he devoted himself to this great cause, working tirelessly and fearless of difficulties and obstacles. However, in sharp contrast is No. 18. Number 18 did not seem to show much interest in this dream of protecting the ecology and animals, so he chose to stay where he was. As for whether there are other unknown reasons, it is really difficult to guess. Perhaps only number 18 himself knows it best. But in any case, number 17 will not stop chasing his dream, and number 18 stays here with Cheng Yu. Cheng Yu's life is actually very simple. In addition to cultivation, he eats and sleeps. Most of the time he spends in the training room. When he has time, he lies in the yard alone and looks at the stars. Since the arrival of this brother and sister, life has gradually become more fulfilling. He has gradually changed from a cultivation machine to an ordinary person, with emotions of joy, anger, sorrow and joy, and a plain and fulfilling life. In fact, Cheng Yu's life is the same as in his previous life. As for why I say that, think about it, apart from going to work, eating and sleeping, now it's just cultivation, eating and sleeping. Now with friends to accompany you is real life. Cheng Yu was lying in the yard again, looking at number 18 sitting on the other side, and he was gradually lost in thought. For the first time, Cheng Yu noticed that this childhood goddess was really beautiful, even more beautiful than on TV, and she was both beautiful and well behaved. Number 18 noticed that Cheng Yu was looking at him but did not interrupt him. Instead, he smiled at Cheng Yu's absent-minded look. Cheng Yu gradually came to his senses and immediately realized that he had lost his composure, so he immediately said, "I'm sorry, I lost my composure. Maybe it's the first time I've seen such a beautiful girl. I didn't pay attention to her before. I'm really not the kind of person you think." Hey, number 18 looked at Cheng Yu's flustered look and blushing face also revealed a barely perceptible smile. After listening to the pale explanation, number 18 said, "So who are you? Are you someone who specializes in tricking girls to live in your home?" Cheng Yu's face suddenly turned from blushing to pale. He didn't know how to explain, but he still stammered. Really not. I just think that living alone and living in a group is the same, and seeing your experience, I think it's even worse than mine, so I'm like this. By the way, I really don't have any intentions, I don't even have a girlfriend." Number 18 became interested, but pretended to be deep, and then came to Cheng Yu's side and looked into Cheng Yu's eyes. The two people's eyes gradually met. Cheng Yu was obviously a little flustered, and his cheeks suddenly turned red. "Okay, I believe you, let's go to rest, good night." Number 18 leaned close to Cheng Yu's ear and said this, then walked into the house by himself. Cheng Yu was already in a bad mood. He was not good at communicating with girls, and he blushed and became angry when he was teased like this. After he gradually came to his senses, he hurried back to his room and covered his head with a quilt, but the feeling when number 18 leaned in to talk to him kept coming back to his mind. A boy who was teased and in love for the first time, and a girl who looked calm but didn't understand herself, this was destined to be a sleepless night. The next day, Cheng Yu got up in a daze. This was the first time he looked like this since he came to this world, and he had two dark circles under his eyes. On that rain-soaked night, the whole world seemed to be immersed in a quiet and mysterious atmosphere. Inside the house, the two sat quietly on the soft and comfortable sofa in the living room. The faint light fell on them, outlining a warm picture. Number 18 leaned gently on Cheng Yu's broad shoulders, her soft hair fell like a waterfall, exuding a faint fragrance. Their eyes were focused on the TV screen, where a romantic movie was playing. As the plot progressed, Cheng Yu's heart began to beat violently uncontrollably, like a naughty deer running wildly in his chest. He carefully turned his head and secretly glanced at number 18 beside him. Her beautiful face looked even more charming under the light and shadow, and her long eyelashes trembled slightly, like stars twinkling in the night sky. At this moment, Cheng Yu felt a strong impulse in his heart. He wanted to stretch out his arms and hug number 18 tightly in his arms, but his inner shyness and hesitation made him dare not take any action. However, when Cheng Yu was still struggling, number 18 seemed to feel his thoughts, suddenly turned his head, and stared at him with clear eyes. Then, she slowly raised her slender jade hand and gently held Cheng Yu's palm, which was trembling a little due to nervousness. At this moment, time seemed to freeze. Cheng Yu only felt a warm current spreading from his palm to his whole body, and his face couldn't help but bloom a bright and happy smile. The two people have always been getting along very happily, but Cheng Yu is a little boy who doesn't know how to express his feelings. So although the two people look like lovers, there is actually a thin film that has not been broken, and both of them tacitly did not raise this issue. Outside the window, the drizzle was falling, knocking on the window, making a crisp sound. Inside the house, number 18 and Cheng Yu were nestled on the soft sofa, and a heartwarming drama was playing on TV, but at the moment, neither of them was paying attention to the screen. Cheng Yu held No 18's hand tightly, and his eyes fell on her side face from time to time. No 18's beautiful face looked even more charming under the light. She was concentrating on watching TV, and she didn't seem to notice the ripples in Cheng Yu's heart. Cheng Yu took a deep breath, mustered up all his courage, and finally broke the silence. No. 18. I find that I am very happy with you, and I have a feeling that I didn't have when I lived alone before, so be with me. Number 18 was slightly startled, turned her head, and met Cheng Yu's eyes full of expectation and nervousness. Complex emotions suddenly surged in her heart, with surprise, touching, and a hint of hesitation. The short silence made Cheng Yu's heart rise to his throat. He nervously waited for No 18's answer, and cold sweat broke out in his palms unconsciously. Number 18 bit her lip lightly, her eyes became gentle and firm. Cheng Yu, in fact, I have the same feeling when I am with you. Hearing this, Cheng Yu's face bloomed with an extremely bright smile, and he hugged Number 18 tightly in his arms, as if to freeze this moment forever. Cheng Yu assassin was completely confused, and it can be said that he was completely immersed in this feeling, and he was also surprised. He couldn't believe that his childhood goddess was with him like this. Since Number 18 and Cheng Yu have been together, their lives are full of warmth and sweetness. Every morning, Cheng Yu always gets up earlier than No. 18. He walked into the kitchen lightly, tied an apron, and began to prepare a nutritious breakfast for her. When Number 18 walked to the dining table sleepily and saw the food that Cheng Yu had carefully prepared, her face bloomed with a bright smile like a flower, and her eyes were full of touch and surprise. She squinted her eyes slightly and took a deep breath, as if to absorb the taste of happiness into her heart. On weekends, they would go to the supermarket together to buy daily necessities. Cheng Yu always carefully selected the snacks and fruits that Number 18 liked. He carefully compared the freshness of each fruit and carefully checked the ingredient list of the snacks. And Number 18 would smile and remind him not to buy too much. She held her hands in front of her chest, her mouth corners raised, and her eyes were full of coquettishness. Sometimes, they would watch movies together at home. Number 18 would lean on Cheng Yu's arms like a lazy kitten. As the plot went up and down, she would frown and worry about the fate of the characters in the play. Sometimes she would cover her mouth and giggle, and her body would tremble slightly. In the evening, they would walk hand in hand in the park. The afterglow of the setting sun sprinkled on them, casting long shadows. Number 18 raised her head slightly and looked at Cheng Yu, her face filled with happiness. She's eyes seemed to twinkle with stars. They would share interesting things of the day and look forward to the future life together. Occasionally, Number 18 would show her royal sister side. When Cheng Yu encountered difficulties, she would put her hands on her hips, with a serious and firm expression, giving him strong support and encouragement. And Cheng Yu would also use his gentleness and patience to tolerate No 18's occasional temper. When Number 18 was angry, she would pout and turn her head away, and Cheng Yu would gently pull her hand and coax her gently. On special days, Cheng Yu would prepare surprises for No. 18. It could be a bouquet of beautiful flowers. When Number 18 took the bouquet, her face flushed, tears flashed in her eyes, and she was so moved that she couldn't speak. It could also be a gift she had long admired. She would jump up excitedly and give Cheng Yu a big hug. They would also travel together and explore the unknown world. During the journey, Number 18 would look around curiously, and when she saw the beautiful scenery, she would open her arms and cheer like a child. In this way, Number 18 and Cheng Yu accompanied and supported each other, and every day was filled with love and warmth. Gradually, Cheng Yu and Number 18 got along more and more happily, and Cheng Yu also realized the true meaning of life in this pleasant life. In the past, he always worked or trained seriously, completely alone, and was self-centered, not paying attention to the people or things around him. Now Cheng Yu has company, friends, and Number 18 is a family member, so now Cheng Yu has transformed from a machine into a human with real meaning in life. I suggest you take a closer look, because there are too many pitfalls in the previous one, so I will take a look at it and introduce it in this article. First of all, the power of the giant ape is actually the power in the Saiyan body together with the Saiyan bloodline. Super Saiyan 4 is the development and fusion of the power of the giant ape and the Saiyan bloodline, including the tenfold increase of the giant ape is the power of the giant ape, and the golden giant ape is simply the fusion development of the Saiyan transformation and the power of the giant ape. I want to set a setting that after the power of the giant ape is completely absorbed and integrated into the Saiyan bloodline, the normal combat power of the Saiyan will increase tenfold, and then the physical strength and potential will increase significantly. In this way, after the power of the giant ape is completely absorbed and integrated into the Saiyan bloodline, there will be no situation where you see the moon or are exposed to some light to transform into a giant ape. In theory, after the fusion, you will not transform into a giant ape. The two powers have been completely integrated, and then you will transform into the Super Saiyan 5 transformation. Then there are two problems I found after reading it myself. The first is that the increase of Super Saiyan 3 should be 400 times, but it has been written here. If I change it, I will change a lot of places, so I won't change it. Just treat it as my private setting. Super Saiyan 3 increases by 300 times, and Super Saiyan 4 increases 10 times on the basis of Super Saiyan 3. The second is the problem of teleportation. I set it into 3 stages. The first stage is to feel the breath and then teleport. The second stage is to teleport to the place or coordinates you have been to by your imagination, and the third stage is to teleport directly through time and space. As long as there is an imaginary place or even a place name, you can teleport there. Then I saw that many people in the comment area did not expect the protagonist of this novel to take the God's route. I want to mention here that I will write according to everyone's ideas, but the title of this book has a dimension. If I don't write about the dimension of the God's route, then I can only write about the dimension of combat power, and the God's route written earlier must be abandoned. This is very troublesome, because this book was just recommended 7 days ago, so I may have written it too hastily, and there are many holes that have not been filled in. Please forgive me for this. The most important thing below, what everyone likes to read the most, and the main attraction of this book, is the introduction to transformation. 1. Saiyan Ape Transformation to Giant Ape. Transformation condition. Watch the moon when it is full. Huge body, 10 times the strength. Disadvantages. Loss of sanity, violent state. The giant ape form is the ability of Saiyans to transform using the full moon, which significantly increases strength but loses sanity. This form shows the original ferocity and destructive power of Saiyans. Royal blood will not lose sanity, and is also a preliminary transformation using the power of giant apes. After the power of giant apes and Saiyan blood are fused, this form will no longer exist, or this form will not be possible without a tail. 2. Super Saiyan 1. Golden hair, green eyes. Significantly increased strength and speed. Transformation condition. Extreme anger. The Super Saiyan form is the most classic transformation form in the Dragon Ball series. Through extreme anger, Saiyans gain great power, and full power increases 50 times the normal state. 3. Super Saiyan 2. Sharper hair, surrounded by arcs. Greatly improved strength, speed, and endurance. The Super Saiyan 2 form further improves strength and speed, while adding arc special effects, showing a higher level of combat ability. The energy is about 100 times the normal state. 4. Super Saiyan 3. Waist-length hair, eyebrows disappear. Powerful power increase, but huge energy consumption. The Super Saiyan 3 form has extremely high energy and combat power, but the energy consumption is very large, the transformation time is limited, and the energy is about 300 times the normal state. Full power is to solve the problem of too much consumption and burden, but the increase multiple is still the same, and it is just a relative balance of burden and consumption. 5. Super Saiyan 4. The hair of Super Saiyan 4 is black and becomes messier and longer, and is draped over the shoulders. The chest and palms are covered with reddish-brown hair, representing the original wild state of the Saiyan. It is a transformation that develops the power of the giant ape in blood, and it is also a transformation that represents the wildness of the Saiyan. In fact, it is a transformation that initially develops the power of the giant ape. The control of breath and body strength of Super Saiyan 4 are very perfect. Because it develops the power of the giant ape, not only is the body strong, but the burden is not as strong as other transformations. The enhancement multiple is 10 times that of Super Saiyan 3, that is, 3000 times. 6. Super Saiyan 4 Blood Sublimation. It is to develop the blood to the extreme under the basic transformation of the Super Saiyan 4 form. It can also be said that it is a form that is developed by combining the power of blood with the power of the giant ape and developing an extreme transformation. This form is a special form developed after combining the power of the giant ape and the power of blood. The external appearance is basically the same as Super Saiyan 4, with red hair tail, black pupils, and explosive muscles. The only difference is that the color of the hair changes to the same red as the hair. This system transforms to 5,000 times the normal state, but the control of the body and breath is extremely sensitive. There are also disadvantages. The disadvantage is that for emotions, if emotions cannot be completely controlled, they will be dominated by emotions after the transformation and become a violent and brutal Saiyan. 7. Super Saiyan 5. After the transformation, the hair will be shoulder length and draped from the neck to the front, but the hair is longer, and it will appear silver, and the body will be covered with silver hair. As for the eyes of Son Goku and Son Gohan in the fan work, they are red, and Vegeta is yellow. This one is changed to a unified red. There are also purple eye sockets. At the same time, there are lightning around. This setting is to improve the spiritual power and thus transform, representing the three kinds of transformations that improve physical strength, spiritual power, and energy. This setting is improved to 10,000 times the normal state. 7. Super Saiyan God. The principle is to improve the chi in the body and then sublimate it to the realm of God, that is, the chi of God. This transformation is actually equivalent to the transformation after the normal breath is sublimated, that is, the normal use of the chi of God. After the transformation, the image is bright red hair, the body becomes more handsome and thin, and the whole body is covered with aura like the sun flame. The eyes are larger and the pupils are revealed. In Dragon Ball Super, the eyes become something with contours, and the colors of the pupils and irises become black and red respectively. The skin becomes whiter, and the appearance becomes younger and more youthful. It is said to be 1,000 times the normal combat power, but the advantage is that after the breath is sublimated, the body is more flexible, the emotions are more inclined to divinity, and there will not be too many emotions in battle. Of course, the most important thing about this transformation is the improvement of speed, and mortals cannot feel this breath. 8. Super Saiyan Blue Level 1, or officially called Super Saiyan God. Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan Blue's appearance is different from Super Saiyan God. His hair and eyebrows are sky blue, his pupils are dark blue, and he is surrounded by blue aura and star-shaped particles unique to the breath of God. Water droplets flow in his aura from time to time, shown in the comics and Broly theatrical version. The speed of the aura is much slower than that of humans and Super Saiyans, and it carries very slight electric sparks. The aura is divided into two layers of aura, which are sky blue and white from the outside to the inside. This transformation is simply a transformation that wraps the Super Saiyan with the aura of God, which is equivalent to a Saiyan transforming from a normal state to a Super Saiyan. The transformation here is set to be about 3,000 times the normal state, which is also 3 times that of Super Saiyan God. 9. Super Saiyan Blue Level 2. This is a private setting, and it is also the form of the protagonist alone. Compared to the transformation of Super Saiyan Blue, the hair of this transformation gradually stands up, and each strand is clearly visible. The only difference from the first stage transformation is the lightning surrounding the body. Set to 6,000 times the normal state. In fact, this transformation is equivalent to the Super Saiyan upgrading to Super Saiyan 2, so it is also very Super Saiyan 1 transformation. Super Saiyan 2 upgrade is equivalent to twice the previous transformation. 10. Super Saiyan Deep Blue Evolution. Because of Vegeta's belief in unyielding spirit, the appearance is similar to the ordinary Super Saiyan Blue. After the transformation, the muscles swell, similar to the second stage of Super Saiyan. The inner layer of the flame is more dazzling, the outer layer of the blue flame is deeper, the hair becomes dark blue, and the particles rising in the flame become larger and brighter. Some will become cross-shaped and explode like fireworks. At the same time, the outline of the pupil is also clearer. The transformation amplitude is set to 5,000 times the normal state. It is an evolution of energy based on Super Saiyan Blue, and it is also a form produced by belief. 11. Mysterious Form Full Potential. The mysterious form was completed by Gohan first. With the help of Old Kai, he developed great potential and was able to exert his full strength in normal state. The characteristics of the mysterious form are that the hairstyle and hair color do not change, and all the aura can also be hidden. Gohan's future breakthroughs will still develop according to the mysterious form. This form also has its advantages. It will not put too much pressure on the body due to the transformation. This form happens to be a little stronger than Super Saiyan 3 on the internet, so the improvement is set to 400 times the normal level. In fact, this form has a second stage. The second stage is to regain the faith he once had during Piccolo's training before the Dragon Ball Super tournament. The second stage is different from the first stage in that there are many more lightnings all over the body. We can also call it the mysterious lightning form. The increase here is set to be about 1000 times the normal state. 12. Beast Form Potential Evolution. In this form, Son Gohan's hair will become longer, his hair color and eyebrows will turn silver gray, and his eyes will turn red. This transformation realizes the root of Son Gohan's independent evolution. Because after the transformation, Son Gohan felt the awakening of the beast in his heart, so this form was named Beast Gohan. It is the form in which Son Gohan can release his power in normal state after Kaioshin developed his potential. That is, the mysterious form or the full potential form, and the full potential form evolved due to anger. I set it to 5000 times the normal state, which is the same as the Super Blue evolution, that is, Vegeta's deep blue form. 13. Orange Piccolo. This is the power that Piccolo made a wish for when he was a dragon. Orange Piccolo's skin will turn orange, his eyes will turn red, his appearance will change, his muscles will swell, and his expression will be full of oppression. The transformation range is about 3000 times the normal level. For the time being, there will only be these transformations, and no other transformations will appear, otherwise the protagonist group will not be able to keep up, or if they force themselves to keep up, their combat effectiveness will collapse. As for the protagonist's subsequent transformations, I will think about how to discard all these transformations, and then only keep a few commonly used or strongest transformations. Otherwise, if a battle transforms dozens of times, is this still a battle scene? To be honest, I want to complain about this problem when I watch Dragon Ball Super. In a battle, first try to transform a few times, then transform for a real battle, and finally break through the transformation to a new form. This battle is really nothing to say. I need to think about the dimension issue carefully, whether it is the combat power dimension or the God dimension, because the subsequent plot needs to be explained for the time being. For the protagonist, I will arrange a battle with Beerus. It is a duel between the real Saiyan and the God of Destruction Beerus, and it is a duel between mortal breath and divine power. You can look forward to it. By the way, according to the original plot, Majin Buu will appear only 7 years after Cell is destroyed. During this period, I have lived a completely ordinary life. Now I have someone to accompany me. To be honest, it's pretty good. Cheng Yu looked at number 18 lying in his arms and kissed his forehead gently. In the original plot, the protagonist seemed to have fallen. In 7 years, Sun Wukong trained to Super Saiyan 3, and Vegeta even trained to Super Saiyan 2 at full power. Who can I ask for justice? You know, although the combat power of Dragon Ball Super collapsed seriously later, the most important training progress is still normal, not invincible, nor too weak. Cheng Yu thought so in his heart. If a few Saiyans can be fully trained in these 7 years, what will happen if Beerus comes to Earth and sees a few Super Saiyan Blues? Even if he works harder, Sun Wukong and Vegeta will definitely be able to fight with Beerus. If the system is powerful, I should be able to go forward and fight with Beerus. It won't be too tragic. It's unlikely to win. Destruction energy is a watershed. At this time, number 18 woke up slowly, and looked at Cheng Yu, who was in a trance, and immediately asked, "What's wrong? What are you thinking about?" Cheng Yu heard the call and immediately came back to his senses and stopped thinking about those things, and then said, "I used to be a loner and never got along with others much, but now I have such a big house and such a beautiful wife. I didn't dare to think about this kind of life before. Humph, you know you have such a beautiful wife. Get up, go out for dinner, and go shopping with me after dinner." Number 18 restored her usual arrogant and royal sister appearance and got up with a smile on her back to Cheng Yu. "There is no way, I am still very happy to hear my man praise me." After eating at home, the two came to Exodus and went shopping. Who told Cheng Yu to have an unlimited black card rewarded by the system? Cheng Yu didn't know why girls buy so many things. Now he has full pockets in his hands, even hanging around his neck, and even has to take out one hand to hold his girlfriend. Seeing number 18 walk into another dessert shop, Cheng Yu found a place to sit down and rest. Looking at the pile of things he put down in front of him, Chengyu felt for the first time that he needed 3 heads and 6 arms. No, he even needed 6 heads and 12 arms. Who would have known that the strongest person on Earth, who could destroy a planet with an energy bomb at will, would be shopping? After a while, the two of them still found a place to eat and took the things they bought home. For convenience, Chengyu had to take number 18 back instantly, otherwise there were too many things and he couldn't take them. It seems that I still need to continue training, otherwise shopping will tire me out. Who can say that? Chengyu said to himself, but as number 18 went upstairs to put things, Chengyu took out a small exquisite box from his pocket, which contained a shining ring. This was ordered in advance while number 18 was not paying attention. I just went to the store to pick it up today, but number 18 knew nothing about it. In order to make it easier for me to confess and propose to no. 18, I informed my brother-in-law number 17 in advance and rented an amusement park in the city for one night. On this special night, the moonlight was like water, and Chengyu brought number 18 to this empty amusement park. Number 18 looked around happily, with curiosity and expectation on his face. Chengyu hurried away on the pretext of going to the toilet. He hid in the corner, quickly took off his usual martial arts uniform, and changed into a suit that he had carefully prepared in advance. His hands trembled a little, and he carefully took out the exquisite little box, took a deep breath, and walked towards No. 18. At this time, fireworks suddenly bloomed outside, and the colorful light illuminated the entire night sky. Number 18 was attracted by this beautiful scene, raised his head slightly, with a flash of surprise in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth raised, revealing a sweet smile. At this moment, Chengyu walked in front of her. Number 18 turned around and saw Chengyu in a suit, with a hint of surprise on her face. Chengyu knelt on one knee and looked at number 18 affectionately, his eyes full of determination and love. Lazily, since you came into my life, I have slowly gotten along with you, and I found that I can't live without you. I love you, marry me. I want to be with you forever. Chengyu's voice was a little trembling, but it was extremely sincere. No 18's eyes were instantly wet, she covered her mouth with her hands, and was so excited that she couldn't speak. At this time, an unexpected person came over and said, "Hey, sister, if you miss this rich, handsome, and protective brother-in-law this time, you won't find him next time." Agree. I agree with this brother-in-law anyway. After a while, number 18 reacted. He looked at his brother who was teasing him and ignored him. Instead, he looked at Chengyu and nodded heavily, with tears sliding down his cheeks. Chengyu stood up, put the ring on No 18's finger, and then hugged her tightly. Under the gorgeous fireworks, they hugged and kissed, as if time had stopped for them. And our light bulb brother-in-law also rarely enjoyed a fireworks show. It was really romantic to confess in such a scene. Chengyu has no family in this world. The only people who can barely be considered friends are the group of protagonists. The same is true for No. 18. His family is only this brother, so Chengyu brought this brother-in-law as a witness, because these 3 people are considered a family from now on. Needless to say, after this romance, Chengyu took lazily to experience the projects here, and then went home. But it was probably this night that moved this sister-like girl so much that she finally spent a very, very wonderful night when she returned home. At this time, because he came to the city from the island at night and it was too late to go back, the brother-in-law number 17 blushed when he heard the noises in the next room and spent a sleepless night. Later, because the two had no friends or family, they decided not to hold a wedding, but they could register and go out for a trip. However, both of them could be said to be illegal residents, so they asked Bulma to get 2 identity certificates for the 2 of them, and then they went to register for the marriage certificate, and then they went on their honeymoon as ordinary people on Earth. A colorful light fell into the yard of Chengyu's house. When the colorful light dissipated, a man with blue skin, white hair and a scepter walked out. Chengyu has been resting for nearly a year. It can be said that he has returned home to rest, train and accompany his wife since his honeymoon trip. He has lived an ordinary life for such a long time. Today, a guest came. The first thing Chengyu did was to come to the yard and look at the gods who walked out. Chengyu was also confused. How did you come to Earth so quickly? Did you notice that I am not from this world? No, I have been labeled as a world. What's going on? Cheng Yu has been thinking about this in his heart, so he didn't talk to the god Weiss in front of him. Hi, hello, let me introduce myself. I am Weiss, the angel of the seventh universe. Hello, what are you doing here? I don't know you. At this point, Cheng Yu can only breathe and pretend to be confused. No one knows whether these gods can let him leave this world. Sir, do you know the god of destruction? Are you interested in being a candidate god of destruction? Weiss saw Cheng Yu thinking, so he looked around and sat down on the chair next to him. I know the god of destruction, but can you explain what a candidate god of destruction is? And why are you looking for me? Cheng Yu also knew that these gods like to find some talented people to train as candidate gods of destruction or some other priesthoods, but there was no way. Cheng Yu could only pretend that he didn't understand. Well, it depends on your talent. The second thing is that there is no candidate god of destruction in our universe for the time being. If you become a candidate god of destruction, I can guide you to cultivate your current divine energy. Weiss said it directly, without delay, just to seduce Cheng Yu. Forget it, I want to be an ordinary person now. I don't want to be a high-ranking god. I have my own life, and I believe that I can definitely find my own way of cultivation. Cheng Yu thought in his heart that although your conditions are very good, but kidding, I am a man with a plug-in, are you better than a plug-in? Weiss couldn't help but look up to Cheng Yu after hearing what he said, but he didn't say much, instead he changed the topic. You haven't introduced yourself to me yet, and can you tell me why you want to practice to become stronger? My name is Cheng Yu. I originally practiced to find my family and protect myself, but now that I have friends and family, it must be to protect my life. In addition, I must become stronger in order to pursue the so-called limit and break it. I believe that I must be the strongest person. Cheng Yu said this and returned very confidently, just kidding, sooner or later I will surpass all of you. By the way, since you are here anyway, just have dinner with us, everyone is a guest, as long as you don't rush. Although Cheng Yu can't be a candidate for the god of destruction, it should be okay for Weiss to guide him in his practice. After all, in the original plot, these gods were greedy for the food on earth. Weiss thought about it, but still agreed. After all, for the sake of food, it was not easy to come out of the destroyer planet, so it's okay to stay for a while before going back. As expected, Weiss loved these delicacies. Although they were all home-cooked dishes made by number 18, these were delicacies that a god like Weiss had never tried. After the meal, in order to let him teach him to practice, Cheng Yu was also thinking about how to say this. After thinking about it, he said, Mr. Weiss, can you tell me who is stronger between you and the god of destruction? I heard people say that the god of destruction has a bad temper and is very powerful in the universe. Weiss said directly without hesitation. Well, I am an angel, different from the god of destruction, but ordinary gods of destruction are trained by angels. Then can you also guide me to practice? Please. It seems that this is not possible. If you are a candidate for the god of destruction, it will be fine. How about this, I will cook delicious food for you, and you will lead me to practice. In this way, you can be considered half of my master. Anyway, I also work hard to exchange for rewards. Weiss thought about it, and recalled the delicious food he had just eaten on the table. It seemed hard not to accept it. Lord Beerus won't blame me when he wakes up and sees someone cooking delicious food. Okay, but you have to go to the destroyer planet with me. Then can I bring my wife with me? She can also practice with me, and she cooks better than me. Okay, then you guys get ready and follow me. Seeing this, Cheng Yu immediately went to tell No. 18. After a while, he asked him to send a message to his brother. He took number 18 to the yard with some food and clothes prepared in the universal bag, and Weiss flew away with them directly. Cheng Yu's face was full of excitement and curiosity. He kept looking around, with a flash of expectation in his eyes. Number 18 seemed relatively calm, but her slightly raised corners of her mouth also revealed a hint of excitement in her heart. With a flash of light, they instantly appeared above the destroyer planet. Cheng Yu opened his mouth in surprise, looking at the mysterious planet below, his heart was full of shock. Number 18 narrowed his eyes slightly and carefully observed this strange world. Weiss looked at them with a smile, and then took them to land slowly. When his feet touched the ground, Cheng Yu couldn't help jumping a few times, feeling this unique land. Number 18 walked forward gracefully and began to explore this mysterious place. After Weiss arranged accommodation for Chengyu and number 18, the two began to explore the destroyer planet with curiosity. They walked out of their residence and found that the sky here was a strange purple, as if the dreamlike color enveloped the whole world. The mountains in the distance were strange in shape, some like huge mushrooms, and some like winding dragons. Chengyu excitedly ran to a lush forest, where the trees were tall and thick, with mysterious lights flashing on the trunks and colorful leaves. Number 18 followed him and carefully observed the surroundings. Suddenly, a small animal that had never been seen before ran past them, with scales as bright as gems on its body. Just then, Weiss appeared in front of them and said with a smile, "This little guy is very clever, don't think about catching it easily." Chengyu stuck out his tongue mischievously. Continuing forward, they came to a clear stream. The stream was gurgling, and the fish in the water were able to fly briefly in the air, flashing strange lights. Chengyu couldn't help but reach out to touch it, but found that these fish nimbly avoided it. Weiss explained, "These are flying fish that are unique to this place. They are not easy to mess with." When they climbed a small hill, they saw a vast grassland. There were all kinds of strange flowers growing on the grassland. Some flowers were as big as wheels and exuded a charming fragrance, some flowers would change color with the breeze. Chengyu asked Weiss curiously, "How did these flowers grow like this?" Weiss smiled and replied, "This is the unique charm of the planet of the god of destruction. At the end of the grassland, there is an ancient castle. The walls of the castle are engraved with mysterious symbols, as if telling a long story." Chengyu and number 18 approached curiously, but were blocked by a powerful force. Weiss said, "This is where Lord Beerus rests. Remember, you must not disturb Lord Beerus's sleep." In the evening, two huge moons appeared in the sky, casting a silvery glow. Chengyu and number 18 lay on the grass, looking up at this magical scene, their hearts filled with awe and love for this mysterious planet. They know that on this planet of destroyer full of unknowns and miracles, there are more novelties waiting for them to discover, and Weiss will answer their questions in a timely manner to make their exploration journey more exciting. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.